Hey, let's get started. What's up, fellas?
Hello. I think I don't know if it was. I can. When I was in the waiting room, I heard someone like messing with their mic and typing. I don't know if that's like you, Prime, or whatnot. Not that it matters, but like I just want whoever it is to be aware that if they think they're on mute, they're not. That's all.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Yeah, thanks, fellas, for being here. We're waiting on just one more, but he'll probably be a bit. Running a small crew today, but
like the small council.
Yeah, indeed.
I remember my first panel.
Yeah. Just gives us more time to shine, right? Less people to step over to make each one of our own brilliant points. So that'd be great.
And more time to talk about fraudulent maple syrup. Be on the lookout, everybody. There's fraudulent maple syrup out
there. We can't hear you, Lagtoad, if you're talking to us.
You can now, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you post something about that, Corey. What's the scoop? What's the ladle on that?
No, it comes in a variety of ways, cans, bottles, etc., etc.
Right.
But yes, there's adulterated, as in people are, trying to pass off, let's say, real maple syrup, but there's like corn syrup in it, or, pretty much, just like you have fake honey, fake Canadian maple syrup. It's a real thing.
Wow. Disgusting. I heard that olive oil, the mafia runs a racket where they will have fake olive oil too.
You know what's really funny about that? I watched this Italian guy, Vincenzio's Plate. He does like food videos. He's really good. Really teaches some really good shit on how to do pasta sauce and stuff on the cheap and the right way and really easy. But he did a ranking tier list the other day about olive oil, and this guy's the not politics guy. All he does is food, right? And he's like, oh, but and then part of it he has the C or B tier, and he's like, oh, these are all actually good, but every time you buy them, you're supporting the mafia.
Yeah. I don't think the mafia runs the Quebec maple syrup industry.
Yeah,
in fact, I think it's highly controlled. But just be aware, we have a strategic reserve of maple syrup here in Canada. So.
You have a strategic reserve?
Yes,
Seriously?
absolutely. I'm not joking. We literally have a strategic reserve of maple syrup. You can go. Yeah.
You gotta be ready for the next World War. They ain't running out, baby.
And the best way to determine whether your maple syrup, is real or fake is by taste. You can definitely.
They're gonna be talking to whoever we're fighting next. They're gonna be like, hey, that fucking MRE, it tastes a lot better with that maple syrup, and then they throw it over, and then throw the grenade right afterwards.
So Corey's 100% right. The Global Strategic Maple Syrup Reserve, located in Quebec.
That's
right. Managed supply of maple syrup up to 133 million pounds, designed to stabilize global prices and supply. Managed by the Federation of Quebec Maple Syrup Producers, it holds a surplus syrup in barrels to prevent shortages during low production years, often termed the OPEC of maple syrup. So,
all true.
You are the OPEC of maple syrup.
Maple syrup is...
Whoa, I didn't know this. You guys produce up to 90% of the world's maple syrup.
That is correct. That's why I know all these things.
You didn't know that? Come on, who else do you think is making maple?
I knew it was a lot. I knew it was a lot, but 90%, countries producing 90% of the world's supply of anything is crazy.
Maple syrup is more expensive than oil by a lot.
It's less of it. True.
Yeah, true. And it's not as in demand. Yeah. But I believe by price comparison, it's 20, 30 times more expensive.
That might be true.
Well, I mean, our friend Corey also tells us that there is a standards process, right?
Absolutely.
To be official maple syrup, you have to meet.
See, this maple syrup, this is grade A maple syrup right here.
Yeah. No, the shit you got.
It's like a best in breed, but for maple syrup. Okay.
It has to have, I believe, a certain amount of, sugar content, and the clarity of it matters. Yes.
Viscosity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, if you've had the fake, I've never had the cheap fake kind. here in the States sometimes. Like when your mom goes to get like the dollar store, like maple syrup, and it's not great.
Oh,
There's a real difference.
It's bad. It's
Yeah.
bad. Listen, I'm not. Listen, I don't care how rich I'll ever be. I ain't going and buying no expensive.
Not going back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
listen.
okay.
I stopped buying it when they took the sweet old black lady off the bottle. That's bullshit. No, I never liked maple syrup, but that's just 'cause I'm not really a sweets guy.
But
Have you had genuine maple syrup?
Yeah, I've been to Canada a few times and had like they're like, yeah, do this, and I'm like, yeah, it's good. It's just it's like too sweet. I can't do.
Yeah,
more
if
than,
you're not a
2
sweets
bites.
guy, yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, my stomach's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But like, I'm surprised that syrup is like measured in pounds, right? Not like liters. Like that surprises me. But like, I don't know. Maybe it's because of it's like a suspension or something.
Well, I think like maybe the global reserve is measured that way, but definitely like what the bottles that I have, it's definitely by volume, like milk. Like this is
You know what else is kind of
250
sweet
ml.
that Canada has? You know, and that sells like national food or whatever. I don't know if it sells national food, but it's kind of famous. Poutine. They're like, oh, we got the gravy, and y'all's
Also
gravy.
Quebec.
Yeah, it's very well. Yeah, you're all French, so of course, like they're gonna have a lot of good food if they're gonna be in, versus the British part. The British don't. They target over for spices, never use them. But they're over here with the poutine, right? And it's kind of sweet gravy. It's not like what we got down here.
No,
Yeah.
whoa. Okay, genuine like Quebec poutine. The sauce is not sweet.
Okay, when I say sweet, I don't mean like like it's not like on the like. It doesn't taste like brown American, or it doesn't taste like that Southern white gravy for sure. Like it's very like it's like a lighter. It's almost like a chicken gravy, a little bit like I don't know how to describe what I'm trying to say. Right? Like
it's fairly unique. Like yeah, I'd have to know what you got. Like
I don't know.
definitely. It might have maybe like the faintest, I guess, depending on how sophisticated your palate is, of the faintest of sweetness.
I'm very sophisticated palate, you know what I'm saying? No, yeah.
But yes, another great Quebec staple is poutine. I'm sure we also produce, 90% of the global supply of poutine.
I fucking like cheese curds a lot. It's basically a cheese curd, so.
Okay. We're just missing one other person. Do we want to jump into the topic immediately, or
I think I would like to. I think that there's like really 2 areas in this topic that I want to go into. I don't know if they're exciting.
Okay.
Personally.
Yeah, I think maybe recent events could probably fit into this topic.
Yeah, I think we should do the AI part, data center part, before we dive into that, because I know we're gonna have some strong opinions.
and see how AI has screwed up your camera once again.
Yeah, bro. You know what I'm saying? It hurt me talking about it, bro. Although I went to Fiesta
right now.
I went to Fiesta this week, and I tell you what, I was real glad we had an AI in the truck. That shit is amazing. But anyway, that's all different.
Okay. But okay. All right. So I'll read the topic, and we can jump into it. And guys, I always have to apologize at this point in time, right? I gotta turn off the music now. So all right, let's.
You never have to apologize.
Chill. I know you guys like kind of riot every time I do that. So it's just like, all right. It'll be back next week. I promise. Okay, I promise. Corey, right? We'll be back.
My heart breaks each time.
Okay. Let's do this. Hopefully my computer doesn't freak out on me, because right now it's like slowing down like crazy. Oh wait a minute, hold on. I got a super chat. So let's take care of that right quick. If my computer doesn't take fucking forever to do anything. Okay. It says, I know nothing about Canada, but knew that. Yeah. Yeah.
Strategic reserve. Yes. How dare you not know about our strategic reserve of maple syrup? It's very important.
I didn't know.
Lactoid. You got a fucking degree, a college degree, without knowing that about Canada. You didn't know that wasn't
I knew nothing about the strategic reserve. Nothing.
Bad Canadian.
It makes sense.
Well,
thank
on
you,
your trivia nights, I'm sure it'll come in handy.
It will.
Thank you, my listening.
133 million pounds.
Thank you, my listening library, for being so kind as to follow the channel, or sorry, super chat to the channel. Much appreciated for that. Okay, so I'll read the topic and then we'll get started. An Indianapolis council member says that his house was shot at because he voted to allow the construction of a data center within his community. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, suffered a firebombing attack on his home. The response to this has been typical: violence is not okay, type phrases. But is that always the case? At the same time, data centers have come online in dozens of communities. According to nearby residents, the noise and air pollution is unbearable. AI data centers, in particular, are worse on all fronts. Some of these data centers were even approved with little to no public comment. So, should the response to these pollution machines be purely civil? At what point is it justified to take quote unquote extra legal actions as a response? If the system fails communities, why should communities be loyal to the system? Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward. There have been like aggressive actions, and there've been actions on all kinds, on all fronts, right? So there was a I just learned this last night that I forget which town it was, but like within some town, there was a city council that voted to approve a data center, and then there was I think my understanding was that there was like a recall vote, and like half the city council gone, wiped out, and they also are going for the mayor. And my understanding of that in that case as well, just like I just described for the other situation, like there wasn't much public comment, and it seems like it was kind of like done in secret. But in that case, they used the political system, and they seem to have gotten what they wanted. So, like, yeah, the city council utterly devastated after taking this vote. But in other places, like this story has been like if you've been following the progression of like data centers, right, like the proliferation across the country, the story that I've said like could be replicated across many other different communities, where like all of a sudden deals are made with officials, and they're like done in secret, even though they're like swear this is going to be the best thing ever for the community, right? And they rush this through, they push it through, despite people showing up and making like the community showing up, making it clear that they don't want this to happen, and then it does go through, and the problem is like if if that happens, like that undermines your trust in the system. And secondly, like when these things go up, and I don't know if you've all like seen the videos, right? Like heard the videos of like the noise levels like outside of these data centers, right? Both AI and otherwise, but my understanding is AI is like even worse. That like there is an incredible amount of noise that like, and it's just ongoing, just an ongoing whirring sound, like this entire time. And like the people like living next to it, like it like gives them health issues. It like it throws your whole system out of whack in a way that you wouldn't expect noise to do, but it does when it's like constant and never stops. And then of course there's the actual air pollution. It depends on which data centers. So some data centers are better at this than others, right? It depends on how they're built. It depends on what resources they have access to. And like it depends on the infrastructure they have access to. But like there are some, I think, like for if I remember, it was one of Elon Musk's data centers, XAI. They just like had these like giant gas turbine powering their data center, but like they didn't even have like the permits for them, right? It was a whole thing, but like they were just like pumping smoke out this entire time. And so yeah, that also affects the health of communities. And so if there's a situation where this happens, and your health is at risk, right? Like seriously. And then like you don't actually have a say, if like the government just kind of like undermines you and doesn't actually like bring this to the public, have deliberations or deliberations that even matter that aren't like completely for show. Does it make sense for people to take other measures? Okay, so we'll ask our friend. We'll go around and we'll ask our friends here. So, our friend Lactoid.
Yeah, I'm Lactoid. You can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. So I'm gonna have a very milquetoast, nuanced, boring opinion about this. I'm sorry, but I looked at this and I genuinely tried to think about, well, what are the different interests here at play? And I think that there's reasonable arguments on both sides. The argument in favor of the data centers, I think, is very much like a you know, an opposition to the not in my backyard kind of mentality of, well, are these things important for the country? Is it important to have these data centers? And I think it is in large part because if they don't go here, they're going to go somewhere. I mean, I've said this. I don't think that any amount of, we're going to boycott AI. We just don't want to use AI. It would be like, insisting on horse-drawn carriages during the rise of the automobile, or insisting on, blacksmiths during the rise of mass production. You're going to get left behind. I mean, this is just, I think it is somewhat of the Luddite kind of way of thinking of, well, I don't want to even address this. It's scary. It sucks in many regards, but it's coming. And you saw a lot of these protests. I don't know if you guys saw this where you live, but I saw a lot of very similar protests and very similar slogans and very similar public opposition to windmills. Pretty much anything large and making noise in their communities is going to be something that people don't like, whether it be windmills, whether it be data centers, whether it be factories, whether it be anything, or whether it be multifamily housing, which I understand from one respect, because yeah, if you have to live near that, it can lower the quality of life that you've come to expect in your area. But on the other hand, that needs to go somewhere. So I'm opposed to any kind of violence when it comes to these data centers, in the same way I'm opposed when it comes to any kind of zoning dispute. I think that's something that needs to get resolved at the zoning level, as opposed to people taking it into their own hands when there is legitimate arguments on both sides. I think data centers would make sense to put them in industrial zoned areas. They should probably be going next to the steel mill as opposed to next to grandma's house. That would just make more sense to me, given how loud these things are, given the fact that they're, giving off a significant amount of pollution. It would make sense to put them in industrial areas. But again, what makes up industrial areas? That's a zoning thing. And zoning is obviously going to be local and should be local, because local governments are going to know their community better than some, federal bureaucrat who's not going to know that community and not know what zones actually make sense.
I think Prime is frozen, actually.
I think he actually is frozen.
Yeah. For a second there, I thought it was like very serious.
He's pondering.
he just was like dumbfounded by what Lactoid had said.
Speechless.
The ultimate
Speechless.
dunk. That's in your opening sentence and
yes.
Opening statement.
The opening dunk. No violence. Local government.
I'm out.
As for what's happening in chat, by the way, while we wait, Fairy Queen was talking about who would be who. Unironically, Fabian's like 6'5". I don't know if he's Frodo. I don't know if he can be Frodo.
No.
What are you casting people for Lord of the
Rings?
Yeah,
that's what Fairy Queen's doing in the chat right now. She said, listen, she said, she said you and Lactoid, Lactoid be a human.
Gibbs, you would, you actually, yeah, you come, I think you would be a dwarf actually, even though.
I don't mind that. I was just the only guys that I know of in the Lord of the Rings.
You're like Gimli for sure with the drinking and
100% he's Gimli. Yeah.
Yeah, but the orcs like barbecue. They just don't have beards, so like I can't be one of them at that time.
No, I would be Sauron. Okay, obviously, as the hand washer of fascism, I'd be the mouth of Sauron. I'd speak for evil. Yes.
Yeah, the big old grin.
Is that what you aspire to?
Well, that's what I'm designated as by some people. So.
Yeah, but what about you
God.
personally? As in, like, you
personally,
embrace it? As in, like,
my
yes.
favorite character was Legolas, of course.
I met a
He
guy.
was Chad.
like,
Aragorn was really cool too. Of course, he was a total Chad.
I met a guy literally the other night. I kid you not. This is maybe he should have been this. And he wouldn't have had to have any makeup.
But
He
Legolas,
honestly-
I think elves aren't they like vegetarian or vegan?
No.
Yeah, the elves. I think some elves are vegetarian. I don't know if all of them are, but some of them are for
Are
sure.
more
But also,
colors?
I met a guy that
know
looked
that.
just like the pink orc. I was like, damn, God did not bless you. with
Remember
this.
in the Hobbit movie? I don't know how true the Hobbit movies reflect like the books because I never read the books, but like I definitely know in the movies like the dwarves complain that when they're eating the elf food, it's all just salad.
No, so I just looked it up. They are not. They are described as hunting and hosting
Okay.
feasts with roasted meats, which the dwarves smell when they're walking through the forest. This
All
was
right.
in the original
Guess they're
book,
just a
The
movie
Hobbit.
thing.
So, yeah.
There's definitely. I feel like in the expanded universe, there's definitely elves that don't eat meat. Like
I mean, I'm sure you can find some elf that doesn't eat meat, but as a culture, they do, which makes sense why they're such good archers, right? They're going to be shooting down deer.
Well, and the ones in the book are in that forest with the giant spiders, bro. You don't want to be.
Yeah, that's
probably
those
need
are
a
the
pretty good
Mirkwood elves.
archer. Yeah, you probably need a pretty good archer to kill a giant spider.
But they probably don't eat them. I don't actually know. Maybe they do eat the spiders, but
I don't think it's.
I don't
I doubt.
It's
I
like
doubt
a
they
shrimp.
do.
It's a land shrimp.
Yeah, it's not described. I think the only like the orcs will basically eat any kind of meat.
We would already be arguing, Martin, but our host just dropped. I'm sure.
I'm assuming he will be back. He
Right
just
back,
seems to be
yeah.
having genuine computer issues.
Yeah.
I don't know what the play is. Like, do we just do we hold a panel?
I
Well,
could
yeah.
be. Hold on, Fairy Queen just said I could be Smeagol. That's kind of self-depreciating. What the fuck?
Wait, is she's saying herself or she's saying that to you?
She said
She
I
would be
could.
Smeagol.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you could.
Damn, be nice to yourself. Jesus. Nobody wants to be Smeagol.
Yeah, not the greatest of characters.
You
I
can
think those
pick one
Hobbit movies
character.
are underrated.
You think they're underrated? I think they're overrated.
I think they're underrated.
I
Not
think
that
the
they're
Hobbit-
amazing, but like I think they get undue hate.
Well, I think the reason is for me. I think that the trilogy, the original Peter Jackson's original trilogy, is the best series of movies ever made. So
It is pretty close. I can make that case, or I can see.
yeah. So
I
I'm
would not
a
really like to
huge
see
fan, and so for me, The Hobbit is just it. The biggest criticism I have about The Hobbit, and we're gonna get totally lost on the topic by the time Prime gets back, but it's okay.
ahead.
The biggest criticism I have of The Hobbit is instead of using practical effects, they try to push almost everything through CGI, and it didn't come across as looking as real. While in the original trilogy, they did a shit ton of practical effects, tons of makeup, tons of just like getting the armor right, and they look great. I mean, they look
yeah,
like fucking orcs.
I think there's a bigger issue with The Hobbit compared to the so the original trilogy, right? He like took the Lord of the Rings, which is a massive series, right? And then he included stuff and excluded stuff that wouldn't be thematically good. So I think one of the best things, right? I was watching this is they actually were going to film like Saruman burning the Shire, right? At the end, and they're like, well, hold on, before we do all
They
this,
didn't have time for it.
well, no, it's not even that. He said this wasn't going to be it was like they were mid-shot on a couple of it. They're like, wait a minute, I don't want to do this because the pacing's going to be bad. Because right now we could end the classic hero's journey at this point and it'd be a perfect story. But if we start including all this extra stuff, the pacing's going to be right. And so I think Peter Jackson, one of the things that he's not giving credit for is figuring out the pacing of like what should be in the books, from the books and in the movie, and what shouldn't. Like, he includes the Watcher, and then he was like the first one's kind of the build-up. Versus the first one is like a lot of just walking. They're literally walking, and like half their problems deal with like the journey for like a lot, right?
Yeah.
That's like not good pacing, and stuff like
Well,
that.
sure.
Versus with the Hobbit, he took a way smaller book and then expanded it across
it.
3 movies. Yeah.
Right. I mean, because
That
you
I'm
had to cut out, but like, yeah, for pacing for sure, but also just like, I mean, what the Return of the King's already like the extended, like the full extended edition. It's
4 hours or something.
just under 4 hours, and so
Still good. I still watch the.
Oh yeah,
dude,
that's the only way to watch it.
of course
It's like
I
Kingdom
watched
of-
the full
it's like Kingdom
extended
of Heaven.
version.
You have to
Of
watch
course.
the full version.
But I'm saying like they cut out so much because you're right. I mean, they for not only for pacing reasons, but just also to make it a movie that people.
I think also
can
as
sit through and watch.
storytelling reasons, right? Like,
Yeah.
Having a 4-hour movie, just 2 showings per day. That's it. They're gonna make their money back for sure.
what was that Gettysburg movie that was like 8 hours at one point? There's like some
I think
shit like that.
I think the CGI in the Hobbits is the dragon is done. I think pretty well. It's not awful, And
dragon's not as nearly as bad as the troll in Moria or the Goblin King. I think that
sure.
was
Oh,
done
the Goblin King
particularly
is
bad.
terrible.
Yeah.
All right. Can
right.
you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
All right. I didn't get to hear much of your opening statements, but
Well, we only did Lactoid's opening.
It was brilliant,
Oh.
just to be clear, as always. And then we waited for you
Okay.
to come back before Gibbs is going to warp Corey.
I mean, you guys could just go. I mean, it's
Oh,
fine.
okay. Well, we waited for you. It's okay. I can give it open now. Do you want to continue? We're done with Lord of the Rings, but yeah. So as for this topic, it's really interesting. Like, we brought this up before, and it's probably going to tie into current events quite a bit. But like, I think this is actually a really interesting question about what happens when the system doesn't work. Is okay. So here in Texas, we have kind of a unique problem with the AI data centers, right? Well, one, we have the Chinese data centers, which is a whole different set of issues. But what they did here is they built these data centers here in Texas out in the hill country, right? And we're an area that's not populated, but is very close to like being able to get the infrastructure rapidly built. Like, and so they built it, and it's a touristy area, yada yada. So they built it in these touristy areas, but far away enough away from the tourist attractions. They don't have the noise, all the pollution that's prime listed. However, there's a new, bigger problem that's happening here, and that is the water crisis. No one was predicting Texas was going to go into a massive drought, and so we went into this massive drought. We might have been like delayed some time with this massive rain that just came through, but we went into a massive drought to the point that now all over Texas we're going to have a water crisis. I've talked about this a few times, but Corpus Christi over here is supposed to be providing the water for these data centers all the way up in Round Rock, and then these data centers, they saw this coming. And so what they did was they bought up the water rights for like their region and got contracts with areas that were like heavy in water, like Corpus Christi and the city areas outside Houston, and like all stuff there in the I can't even remember the name of the lake now, but it's the most haunted lake in America or some shit. They did a movie, Midnight Shaman. But anyway, they're gonna get the water from this lake and all this shit. And so they're getting, and now what's happened though is the droughts happen. So these areas are running low on water. And then what we're supposed to do with Corpus over here, they were going to sell this water. They built this water plant, and then now they're out of water. So they're building a second water plant, and there's EPA restrictions, and they have to do all this stuff. And now all these areas just go, okay, well, we're fucked because we have mismanagement at the local level in regards to like how this water has been managed. And these AI centers, they did everything right. They went and planned ahead. They went and got all this stuff. And then there's like all these people caught in the middle. And it's like, okay, say you're a rancher and you live in an aquifer area that's provided. Well, now how am I going to get my water? Well, I'm going to have to go contract to get water from somewhere else now because what was used to be the water under my land with the aquifer is not providing water because they got the rights to use it over here. And now the aquifers haven't refilled in the way they're supposed to because that's another thing we discovered. They don't refill like we thought they did. And so all these things have contributed to a major issue where it's like, okay, what happens when the system fails you? Because like at least the companies and the people that own these companies did it the right way. They built it away from public. They built it in these areas. They secured the water rights. Like all these things that like Prime just talked about, they fucking took care of that shit. And then they still fucked us. And so it's like, okay, well, what do you do? Well, then you go look, okay, you go to the city management. Well, then the city management's inept, and that fucks you over. And so like you have this option. Is it violence? I guess that's what we'll talk about here in a moment. But I think this is a real concern for like multiple angles because like I'm independent of all this. And like now I'm wondering if like in about 5 years, if I'm going to have any water to fucking feed my cattle, like this is a real problem. Like, what are we going to do here? And like, I don't know. I think it's exciting. And as for the shooting stuff, I mean, I'll wait hold for that because I'm sure this is going to tie into this more quite a bit in a little bit.
Okay, let's go to Corey.
I think the solution is simple. Legislation should be passed where all data centers are just built around Lactoid and Lactoid only. That's the only logical solution. But no, so I'm not exactly sure what the solution is. But let's say, I'm somewhat serious about this, but also somewhat not. Taking a page out of like my solution of like when cops want to use AI against the public, well, they should maybe start with themselves first, okay? And go through all that footage, police footage with AI. And so I'm thinking or entertaining the idea of like, okay, there should be some legislation, but let's say the legislation mandates that, okay, whatever company is building an AI data center, okay, then it is mandated, okay, that like the CEO of the company has to like pretty much now has to have a sound system that replicates the exact sounds right at their primary residence, okay? And then also all of the pollutants, it replicates all the same pollutants right outside their primary residence, okay? Therefore, they have some sort of incentive to actually like, well, I I'm assuming they would complain about the noise as well, and also the pollutants. And so they're incentivized to solve that problem. Again, I'm somewhat serious about that. But let's say I'm trying to think of ways to like actually tie the negative externalities to the people that are actually in the company that are making or like trying to enforce these decisions. But like, could it be solved by what Lacto brought up in zoning? Probably, or let's say maybe. But I think there's going to be issues with that as well in terms of like, well, other aspects. So at some point, I don't know, it's going to get to a place of like the entire United States is just all data centers, and you have no choice. But like, just like you have urban sprawl, there's going to be data center sprawl. I can imagine that scenario too. But that's where I'm at right now, and I'll leave it there for now.
Thank you. And last but not least, our friend Ali.
I'm assuming we're on topic right now. Yeah, I jumped in a little bit late. We're pushing people to a point where they're going to just explode, right? There's going to be a limit where these like multi-billion-dollar companies and people are just going to be able to exploit the average person, and then like the only response is, well, you can legislate or you can vote, and then that shit doesn't work because the politicians are bought off by these people who, you know, like in the prompt, it's, you know, there is little to no pushback by these, like, right, it's just they're just getting built up. And so eventually this is what's going to happen. People are going to snap. People are going to they're going to break. We're going to see people throwing Molotov cocktails over at fucking data centers, trying to break them down. And if not, shooting the people who own them, right? Like we saw what happened with the healthcare CEOs, right? Like, you know, Luigi snapped. There's only bound to be more Luigis. It's not going to be less people who are going to snap, because legislation just isn't going to work fast enough. People don't believe in the legislation. They don't trust the politics. So they're doing the only thing they think they can do, which is violence. And then they think it's just because all other options are exhausted and not working. So it's scary times we're going into.
So two things quickly. One, if our friend Lactoid could repeat the part, because I heard like you talked about like the part of you know, why these centers should be built, but like why, what was the case against you were making?
Well, I mean, the case against is going to be the case against any like disruptive structure built in a residential area or near a residential area, whether it be a factory. I mean, people don't want multifamily housing near them because it's loud, it causes commotion, all these things, it raises pollution level, littering, all sorts of shit. Yeah, there is a legitimate concern I think people have where it's like, look, I've lived in this community and now it's getting in their perception ruined because this large structure or this new institution is moving in and changing the nature of the community. I get that concern. I just think that the only real way to handle this is how we've handled this for everything, which is like local level zoning. I think this is much more efficient than, again, on the federal level, some kind of federal level zoning. I think that, you know, some kind of local elected body saying, okay, we're going to have the industrial zone over there, and we're going to have the, you know, commercial zone here, you know, fucking Sim City shit. I think that makes a lot more sense. I will agree, like, I wouldn't want one of these fucking data centers by my house. I also wouldn't want a steel mill by my house. But I'm also not going to say that a steel mill can't exist. There's obviously strategic reasons why we want data centers here in America as opposed to elsewhere.
Why are they building them so close to like
That's
communities and people's housing? Like we do have land for fucking.
Well, no, Ali, that's the problem. That's the problem I brought up, right? Like, so I brought this up in the topic when it's these things. All right, let's just like that's an issue. But you're right, we do have land, and I brought this up. I don't know, you came in like think halfway through my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is they like what they've done in the hill country is they pick tourist areas, but they pick areas that are outside, like it's like not farmland because it's hard to have ranches on these hills. It's not. It's lush. It's like foresty, but they can put them out in the middle of nowhere, and they put them out there. They've zoned it properly, and then what they did is years ago they started buying all the water rights, and so they've done everything Prime is concerned about, except maybe I know Prime is like not the water right thing, but as far as all the other ones listed in the prompt, like they've done everything. They've got it out of the way. They built it like friendly, so like the environment, so it doesn't disrupt the nature. And if it does disrupt the nature, they built it far enough away that like it's not going to disrupt like people in their homes, so that like it accomplishes Corey's goal of not bothering these people, like all these things. And so like they did did all this, and then now do you, after you encourage companies to go and do this, do you punish them because they did it the right way? Because they went, then now they got all the water rights, and now because ineptitude at the city level by the government, we're all going to fucking run out of fucking water. Do you punish these companies that planned ahead and did the EPA stuff you wanted, or do you punish the city leaders, or who? In the interim, who's getting fucked?
I don't think. You do punish the city. Who sold them the water rights? That's the crazy part, right? It's like someone sold off the water rights. Someone made money off of that. Yeah, so then you hold the city accountable. Obviously, the company is going to want to do whatever the fuck the company wants to do.
Yeah, but they did it the right way. You're punishing somebody for like looking ahead.
You do got to punish the people who sold. I think at that point,
I don't know about punishing them. Like,
I don't necessarily mean punish. I mean metaphorically, say you go and hold.
Hold them accountable to the ballot box, then I guess.
Well, but what I'm saying to Prime, right? So Prime is brought up like valid concerns, like that's going to end this prompt, like with these people, like in the residentials, right? But what I'm saying is, say you do all these things and you do it the right way. Now, people are still getting fucked. How do you handle this? Do you go you legislate against those companies now?
No, I have an answer.
Their waters, right? Okay, go, yeah.
So you kind of referenced this. Corpus Christi specifically is in the middle of the construction of multiple new desalination plants, some of which are newer and larger and more processed to take in seawater. This is what happened. Like, this is simply a market reaction. When water becomes scarce enough, the price of water goes up. When the price of water goes up, it becomes economically feasible to start building desalination plants. This is what Israel does. This is how Israel is able to exist. I mean, there's plenty of countries that live in the desert. The only way they're actually able to get enough water to sustain their population is through desalination.
I understand that. But that's not the issue I'm bringing up. I get all this, and I agree. Let the market fix it, right? But here's where I'm going. Right, is Mexico's not honoring their water deal. The desal plants are being built because they need to be. They're just taking time.
Wait, what about Mexico?
Mexico's not honoring a water deal we have with them. That's a whole different deal. And so, they're supposed to provide a bunch of water. Yeah, I mean, we can go into that. It's not enough water at this point to even matter.
Canada has a lot of water.
Sure. I mean, maybe we can build a pipeline through like that, but we could call it the Texas pipeline. No,
anyway, my state has a literal legislate like a.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is what is the Band-Aid in the interim? Right now I have water, but as a rancher, I'm also going. We could run out of water any day. Like, I'm always prepped for that. That's a problem.
Or your water costs is just going to go up.
But it's like, how do you patch it? How do you think it go up?
No, the only way to do it is there's going to be as is the case with all moments of transition. There's likely going to be a moment of change. You're in an industry that uses up a lot of water. Cattle ranching uses up a lot of water, a disproportionate amount of water, right? Another commercial industry like data centers, they also are probably going to use up a bunch of water. Any kind of commercial industry is. The only thing that's going to solve this is getting more water, or potentially developing new ways to reduce water usage, which is also what you see, right? I'm pretty sure some of these data centers are moving towards mineral oil in order to try to avoid water usage because the water usage is becoming so expensive in certain areas.
That, and they have closed loop systems so rather than just running through the water, they keep it all in, and so they're trying that. But to answer Ali's question more directly, so my understanding as to why they're building them within communities is because of the simple problem of infrastructure, right? Like, build it in the middle of nowhere. That means you have to build out the pipes, right? You have to build out
the workers got to drive.
And more importantly, I think that the biggest thing is power. Right, delivering the power there, and right now we are, because of the AI data center boom, we are in a massive crunch for electrical equipment, like industrial electrical equipment.
Yeah,
these transformers that they use for that purpose. Literally years in a backlog that you got to wait before you get yours. And then
the people's bills are going up.
Last thing. So now it's a year's backlog, but I'm sorry, I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry, you go first.
Well, I mean, you were talking about the energy and like the cost. I was saying that it just the citizens are the ones paying, right? So like their energy costs are going up. You're seeing like where these data centers are being built, that the residents their electrical bills are coming in higher, so on and so forth. So it's like we're also paying for the electricity for these people to have these fucking data centers around, or is it because it's like drawing in so much electricity, but then the offshoot is going to like the residents?
Well, that's interesting you bring that up because in Houston and some of these other places, their electricity bills have gone down because they have decentralized electricity, right? And so any company, so you might be on a plan like if they have a big electric company deal, they're going to get more from the production, and then your deal is going to be lower because they have it combined at a bulk rate. So you might actually get lower prices if you have like a data center near you, right? And that's where a lot of cities in Texas are decentralized energy. And then I actually sell as one of the services my company sells is decentralized energy. So in states where they have like the TVA and they don't have that, their prices would directly go up. So in this case, I would argue that that's your problem would be deregulation when it comes to like energy. That would be a kind of a thing there.
Fair.
But like I really want to get back to the zoning thing. It's just because you can still zone everything properly. But the problem is like these data centers, since they're so new, are like using it. It's like this like the law, the fear of the unknown, right? Every time we put one of them there, there's a new problem that develops. Whether first it was now it's the water, then now you'll use the mineral thing, then it's the noise pollution, then it's what is like the solutions seem to be making this problem worse, like in the long term, because every time we fix one, something worse is coming with it. Like, is this like going to be a continuous thing with the AI and the data centers? I mean, that's kind of something I'm a little concerned about.
So the point I was going to make before is that we're an interesting point because I talked about how the Transformers, there's a years long backlog for that, but because of that, like you keep hearing about like, oh, there's going to be a new data center project, right? This thing is going to be built. The thing is, like the people behind it, some of them literally just awful planning, just like embarrassing planning, right? But just a lot of people who have like a lot of money on their hands, who can make a lot of promises, but who just like literally don't understand like what industrial planning looks like, because it's a very specific thing, a very specific skill set. But in any case, right? That it's gotten to a point where a lot of these projects aren't going to be built, right? Like that some of them have like started moving dirt around, but like it's clear that there's nothing. There's one in New Jersey that was being built, and like people were just like looking at the satellite imagery, like nothing's happening here, because of the lack of infrastructure, or the lack of equipment to be delivered. And then like, so the thing that we haven't talked about, right? Like, so the noise like comes from, well, two things, I guess. It can come from like oil, the power sources, but it can also like be like the GPUs, right? You got like these thousands upon thousands of GPUs that are going on. And the thing is, specifically in this case, we're talking about AI data centers, not the other data centers, because I said this previously, like AI data centers are like completely unique, right? Like they're like very much different. They kind of look the same, but they don't operate the same at all. For AI data centers, where you have these GPUs spinning, that creates an incredible noise. But an interesting thing is that you know how NVIDIA has been making endless amount of money, right? Like became like the most valuable company on earth just through GPUs. Well, they only have a certain amount of throughput. They can only provide so many of these things, right? So quickly. But at the same time, they're like designing new ones. And so like what a company does is they put in an order, right? For like the next generation of GPUs, right? Or like the current generation even. And they'll, like, okay, we're going to get 200,000 of these things. Sure. But like it takes them a while, just like for the Transformers, it takes them a while to like get through those orders. But for some of these data centers, these projects, by the time they get their orders, right? Because like the current generation, I believe, is the Blackwells. Like by the time they get their order, like we know the next generation would be out,
Wow.
right? And this part's crazy, right? So they put them in these like racks, right? Like these like specialized GPU racks, like for like cooling and power delivery and networking, right? They put in these specialized racks. But all those racks aren't interoperable. So we know for the next generation of GPUs, they got getting new racks, and these like racks are gonna be incredibly expensive. The new ones, right? Yeah, and so like you have to. It's not that like, hey, we're just gonna pull these things out and then slot the new ones in, tear it all out, like tear it all out. And there might be, don't quote me on this part, but there might be implications also for like the cooling, and like how that works, because these things are just like incompatible. So crazy.
And I just want to add on that from what I
yeah.
understand, all of this is built under the assumption that like this is all like going to be used and it's necessary, as in like some utility of AI is going to be come in the pipeline, and yeah, and profitable. From what I understand, and someone correct me wrong, like none of the AI companies are profitable currently. It's all under the assumption like some massive uses coming in the pipeline, but if that never comes, then these data centers I think are going to be like largely useless, or like that infrastructure is going to be there for like nothing.
I mean, I think the profit's coming. Like, I just think I got to be honest. Like, I'm looking at shit. It okay. I'll just give you an example. Like,
I feel like the cost definitely outweighs the ROI when it comes to profits, man.
Well, you say that, right? But okay, like just think about but then it's going to be. I think there's going to be supply and demand. Okay, like we're already talking about this. Like, I'll give you an example. Listen. I have some talents. One of them is not being artistic. Right, so I could go in here and I need like I don't know, what do they call it? A fucking some kind of picture made. Like I'm like, we're gonna do like a promo poster or something. It'll take me literally like 5 minutes to like crank out like 8 different versions of something decent, and then like pick one and like another maybe 5 minutes, and I'll have whatever. This is something that I used to would have to go pay people to do. Like if I want an emote done, I can
starting to work against that. That's starting to work against companies, though.
Sure, yeah, it's useful now, but what I'm saying
you're
is
not paying for what you're actually getting. This is
and then when a lot of people see AI art, they're not in support of that company.
If you're using it a certain way, but I think you're missing what I'm saying, right? Okay, like, I'm not talking about like AI art. I'm talking about if I need a thumbnail, that's not art. I'm not gonna. I used to have to pay an artist, or I'd have to pay someone better with Photoshop to do it. Right? Cool. And that's $15, $5, whatever.
Logo.
Yeah,
I don't think you're paying too much for it now.
Hold on. But say I want to just do just like they can use an emote. It'll take an emote, taking 10 seconds. That's basically word art, right? But now they can include the word art and the background where I already had the background blanked out, and so I don't have to go do that and then put it in. Like, it's just more convenient. And this is why Henry Ford basically was able to conquer his industry, right? Because instead of making like craft cars like they were basically doing at the time, he was able to do the manufacturing line, right? And so you do this, and every time you make something more efficiently, eventually that does become the norm, because like you're gonna do that. And so right now you're not seeing the cost, but as more and more people get familiar with the AI, like if I try to get my parents to do this, it would take them a while to figure out how to use AI. But each person that's learning how to do it, it's kind of like, I don't know, a virus in the sense that like the more people use it, they're going to be like, we can't not have this. We're never going back. We're never going back to some capacity before AI, because now we have a standard of like what this is able to do so quickly. Why hire all these other industries? It's like whale oil versus normal oil. So eventually it is going to be profitable. They just don't have the scaling right. Maybe they don't have the tech up there yet. But as it goes, like it's just going to become more profitable. Like that's
jobs are currently like the market is just reacting. Like currently jobs are getting replaced by AI. This is happening like ongoing.
Yeah, and then it's gonna be profitable. It's just how but then my big concern is, it's profitable, and I don't know that I can go back. But like, if it's still fucking us in like 5 other industries, is how long before the market reacts to that? Because I want to stay number one as America. Sometimes we got to preempt shit. Like I'm not a libertarian. That's it. It's like, so what is the solution? I would
socialist. You're gonna do.
I'm a socialist. Yeah, I'm an ultra capitalist. Maybe we need to empower these companies more.
So there's multiple things. One, and I actually do want to double down on like the GPU thing that I mentioned, because like it's like if you don't replace your GPUs, right? Like it literally becomes unprofitable to run them, because like your competition, like if they have like the better GPUs, right? Then those are supposedly always like more power efficient, right? And like more obviously computational efficient. So like you're losing money, right? By not upgrading. But if you upgrade and you can't get them fast enough, well then you'll like do the cycle again. There'll be another set of upgraded GPUs out by the time you get your current set. So like it's a whole thing. But like in terms of like the profitability, like in general, I think that I said it like the week before that like I'm bullish on AI. I think we will see this as an important and useful tech, right? But like the thing I was trying to like get across, right, is that like I'm bullish in a very nuanced way, like a very nuanced way. Like I'm not on any sort of hype train, like at all, and you've never seen me do that, right? Um, I think that like yes, it has its use cases, and we can expand on those, and we're like still currently in the process of exploring them. But this idea that it's going to be a global transformation, transformational technology, I'm not ready to accept that yet. I think that profitability can happen, right? But like investors right now are pricing that in as in like 1 to 2 years. Oh, okay, eventually we're gonna get there, right? We're just gonna keep like the leaders of the AI neo clouds and the providers, right? Like they keep saying, like, we'll just pour more money into it. We need more computational power, right? And then we'll get to a level where we can service everyone and maybe get to AGI or whatever, right? But the point is that like we just need more investment, and then that will, at a certain level, equal massive profits. Like they will just suddenly reap rewards. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that like we will reach a profitability, but that'll be like in 5 to 10 years, right? Not all technologies like immediately like explode. Like most technologies like that we integrate that become useful in our lives, like have a ramp up, right? Even like smartphones had a ramp up, right? It wasn't like everyone had it in their pocket immediately.
Ramped up pretty quick though.
It still wasn't like it's like near saturation point in the West now, but it wasn't immediately like that, right? It went up and it was useful, but like and there, even then there was an easier transition, right? We're talking about smartphones. That was the easier transition than like when we had cell phones, right? Like the dumb phones, because that's a ramp up as well. That took years. I mean, we had smartphones in cars, right? Like in the 80s, like the big ones, right?
Car phones, yeah.
Yeah, the car phones, right?
Well,
they were wireless as well.
Well, you know what's really
the point is,
interesting
I'm almost done. But like, yeah, so like that was a ramp up, and then by the time smartphones come out, that's a transformation on a technology you already had, right? And then there's another ramp up. But in any case, the point is that like it wasn't immediate, and it wasn't in the time frame that we had now. Since like was it 2022 or 2023 when GPT 3 point whatever came out? That's an extremely short time frame. And so like it just needs a quite a bit more time to just mature, right, as a technology. But people are like assuming otherwise, and I think that's a disaster.
The whole thing though is okay. So let's just say all those industries you just mentioned though. This is more like I think AI is more akin to the oil to whale oil thing than a lot of these other industries, because even with those industries you mentioned, right, they have created like niche industries, right, because of like smartphones and stuff. Like, all right, so say I don't want to have like a smartphone with all the features, I can still go buy a track phone, a Nokia old school track phone. They still make them. You know, you don't want the one that's not on the grid. They have them. You'll buy your minutes, all that. There's still like a market for some company. You know, did you know Net Zero still exists like as of like a year ago? Well, I saw a thing. They were like, I saw an ad for them. I'm like, what do they offer? They offer like basically like dial up. They offer it like random places, and it was cheap as fuck. And I'm just like sitting here like, okay, so they have these niche industries that still survive. But with AI though, this is more like, even though there's still going to be industries like, oh, I want old school. I don't want my car and my refrigerator to talk to each other. Yeah, there might be some of that niche. This is like, it's going to be eliminating labor across the board for so many industries where people were more able to make middle like jobs. We're going to see some kind of shift, like to like I don't know, like where like the production of this is going to have to be done, or like I'm just like, it's really interesting to me because like I said, I used to pay like a $5 guy to make these graphics. Like this is when we're talking about AI art and the backlash against it. Yeah, sure. But then I was like, okay, I figured out how to like crash course do it just as good as they did. And now if I need an emote made, I would be able to do it without the AI. But it's like I would pay him $3 or $4 for convenience of time, and now I can do it like so fast. Why would I ever do that? And you'll see.
You're not paying the actual cost now, though. Like it's the cost you pay now is essentially subsidized. That's why these companies are taking losses. You're not paying the true cost for your AI generated art.
It's like how Uber and Airbnb were so cheap when they first came out because they didn't have to make money. They were not operating at a profit. But the second they had to become
Just
profitable,
like compare Disney Plus's prices to prices today.
Yeah.
Disney Plus when it first came was $4.99. Now I believe it's
or
I
Netflix,
don't know any. Yeah,
or Netflix or Hulu.
it's like if you have to pay now $20 for your little emoji or AI generated art, I think your calculation is gonna be different. I don't know if you're still gonna do the exact same thing. It's like,
but it was $20, and then but the thing is, like, the skill isn't that high to do that, right? Like, I can go in there and make a decent email. I've done it many times before. It's out there,
you
right?
learned instead of starting to pay for it.
Right, but here's the thing: is where the time is the valuable thing. That's what you're talking about. This is where there's going to be the backlash. Right now, the time it's like cheap. It's more time. Like, it's easy time to do with the AI. But as like the AI becomes more established, it's not going to become more expensive when there's more competitors.
It is going to be more expensive just based off the fact that like these guys are going to have to pay back their investors at a certain point.
You can
right
literally use the AI now to write you a program to do this already. Like, I could write a program in like Grok, like maybe not me, but somebody who's like decent about
most of the AI shit looks like AI shit because most people don't know how to do it, and then the ads that they use to sell their AI, like movies and all that shit, is like there's a specific design to it, right? The average person doesn't know how to do it. These businesses don't know how to use AI properly. They're all just trying to implement AI in any way possible, and it's just clearly obvious.
It's a learning curve.
The average person's not going to be like an AI fanatic. We're gonna like they're gonna it's not going to be used in the way that people think it's going to be used. It's like it's always going to be noticeable by the average person that like they made an AI movie or they made an AI poster, or they made an AI thumbnail. Like, you can tell this shit evidently right now.
Well, I mean, you say that, but I was
getting
watching
to the point.
Yeah, Gossip Goblin posted out. If you compare his stuff from 6 months ago to now, like, it is so drastically different. Like, it was like jerky. This is just from him working with this. Then he posted like a short video the other day, and it looks better than that show that's on Netflix called like Love, Death, and Robots. It looks better than that, and I'm like, it's really close to like being like
it's getting really close. There was a prankster who just got arrested because he made an AI video of a cop car getting like broken into, a specific cop car, and then went over to that cop and showed the cop the video of the cop's cop car getting broken into, and caused the cop to freak out. It was like a stupid prank, and that was enough to fool the cop.
It's essentially
like
pranking himself. He got arrested.
He got arrested. He was like in a lot of trouble. So yeah, he kind of fucked himself over.
What's the prank?
Well, the prank was like, oh, you made somebody all worried that they're
I'm getting arrested. Hilarious.
Yeah, apparently he's
YouTube pranksters aren't the smartest.
No, I agree they're not the smartest, but the moral of the story that I'm trying to point out is that like this is good enough now to fool cops. It's been good enough for a while now.
What's the average education level of a cop?
Well, hold on, it's been good enough for years now to fool boomers on Facebook. And some of the videos I've seen recently, again, at the beginning it's going to be low bars. Now, like, it's getting to the point where I have to do double takes sometimes, and I'll slow it down, and I'll have to pay attention to like very specific details in the background or like continuity issues, and I actually have to like focus to make sure that it's not an AI. And it's so fucking close that if like on just a casual viewing, it looks fucking real. And I'm saying like that is a far cry from where it was a year ago.
I saw a video. I might have mentioned this before, but I saw a video of like a woman who was like dancing, and like she was like super hot, which is why I clicked on it because and she was like, it was like the YouTube channel was like, oh, this is like a musical artist, right? And she's like singing and dancing. But then like I'm just like staring at her, right? 'Cause I'm staring at that booty. Like something's like not right. I'm like, is this AI? And like I'm just like not like sure.
I brought this up last week or the week before, the Higgs one.
They're like, there was just like these like little things that like were like a little throwing me off. And like what I had to do, right? No fucking around. I like looked into the channel. I saw their other social media. I saw this on YouTube, right? So I went to Instagram, and then like I was like looking at the videos, and like when the singing was off, but like I thought they were like trying to do like a lip sync thing, and it was like more of a dancing thing. So I'm like, okay, but that can happen like in real or not. But I had to like scroll down, right, in Instagram, and I found their older videos that were using older models, and I'm like, oh, that's AI, yeah, when it was like really bad. That's how I figured it out.
This Higgs-filled one, like they literally look like it's gotten to the point. They even actually proudly put it. They're like, "This is the Higgs AI." And it's this OF chick, right? And she does all the cosplay, little TikToks, and then it'll have like photos, and it'll have like life story photos of like her dad, her mom, and all this shit. Like with their meeting, like, "Oh, my dad when he was younger." There's like a pic from him, like in the Air Force, is like a whatever guy, and like they have the same person, like all throughout, and you're just like, bro, this is like almost a person. Like,
if you ever see me doing a crime, it's not me.
What is okay? So like, what is this like thing that like we're chasing? I guess like we're okay with AI being implemented so heavily. We're okay with the data centers, right? Like, what are other countries doing with their data centers that that we're in competition with their AI with?
The same.
But then like also like, is this something like we want to be pursued in this country? I know that like we're in competition with other people to have AI, but it really seems like the negatives are going to outweigh the benefits like massively when it comes to just like AI and how it's implemented.
We have to do it, otherwise pretty much another country will. Like that's pretty much like the competition.
That's
it's
like,
nuclear. It's like
you don't want to be the one that
like,
doesn't have
would we
Skynet.
prefer not having the bomb? Probably, but if we don't, like, they're gonna get more bombs than us.
Like, what even is the bomb? Like, I don't know what the bomb is, because like, how are other countries implementing it, and it's going to be a problem? Because like the thing with TikTok, right? The way American TikTok and the way Chinese TikTok work are kind of different, right? If you're scrolling through TikTok in China, you're getting less of the brain rot, and it's kind of more geared towards certain things, blah blah blah. So it seems like even if we are like winning the competition, the overall use by our people is not necessarily like beneficial to our country.
In some cases, no.
I think in most cases,
but I think that the potential here of AI is for every country going to be somewhat similar in like labor savings. That's probably like one of the big things for the economy that people are looking at. Like, if you can replace jobs with this, you can push people out of the workforce, out of that particular position. Either they're going to go into other jobs, or at the very least, even if they don't,
or they're not going to have jobs,
or they're not going to have jobs, right? And the position
which we now just have a huge population of people that aren't working.
But yeah, and here, if an AI can do their job better at a country level, that might be more efficient. Now, obviously, you have to figure out what to do with those people. Which
there's
been people talking about that,
the bigger
like
question,
UBI,
right?
like other kind of conversations.
UBI doesn't do anything at that rate.
Well, I mean, we keep them alive.
Will it though? Like,
well, it depends. Hold on.
You give them the money to buy what they need to live. So.
No. Well, okay. So like, but you give people money and things are going to become more expensive, right? And then they can't afford things. So even if we give them UBI, it's kind of like
the argument.
Hold on.
We'd be post scarcity almost. We'd almost be post scarcity is the argument.
Yeah. So inflation.
We made so much money off this shit. Like, the only other countries that don't have this are like second or third world. And so now we have so much money coming in from them that we can give everybody welfare.
Inflation has two different. All inflation is too little money chasing too many goods, or too much money chasing too few goods. Sorry.
Goods.
Yeah.
And so okay, you got people who have more money now because or being given more money because they're not doing more work, but you wouldn't necessarily have more inflation if the supply of goods is being produced is keeping up with that additional demand. And the whole idea is, well, if AI can be more efficient at doing this, if it can more efficiently do all the jobs, then all the goods and services that people rely on are going to be provided to them efficiently enough to account for the increase in the money
the nobility of America.
That's the idea. But you know, there's the economic application. There's also the military application. We've talked about this before on this very panel about how, you know, the AI drones are just going to be, how the fuck are you going to fight against that if you don't have them too? That's going to be fucking scary. And there's going to be a lot of social upheaval and turmoil. And I agree with you, Ellie, that not all of it's going to be positive. And I even think overall in the end, I think there's some really negative outcomes that are going to come out of this when it comes to just kind of the collapse of society and kind of social interaction, which we're sort of already seeing.
Well, here's a real,
but it's unstoppable.
We gotta start expecting Molotov cocktails at the data centers, right? That's
because then the Chinese are going to make it, and then they're going to come kill us all.
Well, you know, I mean, we already have the CCP making using AI centers here to like push propaganda, which the Dems are eating up left and right, and that's why they're shooting people. I mean, like, it's really that simple. We know that's what's happening.
If people can't sleep because of the buzzing and the whizzing from the fucking data centers, right? They're gonna go crazy. Like, at minimum, they're gonna actually go nuts. Hold on.
Yeah, but like that's an assumption about like the country giving a fuck, right? let's
do you mean?
let's think about and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So like I agree. The noise I've heard from those videos is intolerable, right?
Yeah.
You know what else is intolerable? Living next to a pig farm, right? Like you have areas of the country where like they're next to these pig farms, and like pigs create an incredible amount of poop,
or
right?
A lot of waste.
And yes,
not so nice
and
waste.
They put it in like these pools, right? And like for sure,
Not swimming pools. Do not go in.
Not
anywhere.
swimming pools. Don't do that.
I know what you're driving at.
Yeah, you won't survive the night. But like like the smell, it's horrendous, and it's like over a wide area. But there are people who live in those areas, right? Who are just like fucking stuck there. Try selling your fucking home. Try selling your home if you're one of those
I think
areas.
that's a little okay.
The point that I'm just saying quickly is that like I agree, it's bad, but like we're pretty fucking good at forgetting about those people. They don't got money. They don't got.
We also
power,
need pork.
right?
It's different.
No, you don't. You don't need pork.
Oh, Corey, none of that vegan shit here. Okay, we need pork.
You just don't need.
We need bacon.
Pork.
No, you.
Yeah, but like,
really, you're okay with
the vegan and the Muslim telling me that I don't need pork. Bullshit.
Are you okay? Are you okay with those pools in your backyard?
No, but I want to eat pork. So I bought a house that's not by those fucking pools.
Yeah,
and if they worked hard enough, they could also buy a house not by those fucking pools.
I gotta be honest. You gotta be really worried about anybody. Listen, I'm just saying, there's a reason why certain people own pig farms, and that's all I gotta say about that.
Yeah, but that's a different thing, right? I think one, you're right about like the fact that people can't necessarily move out of their areas. They're broke. They can't sell their house, so it's a little bit like you're kind of stuck there if you're born there. But the turnaround is that one, America fucking lives on pork, right? So like they're willing to deal. One, they're willing to deal with it. It's a different issue. Two, I don't know if you're building new pork ranches or pork farms in like communities, right? I feel like there's pork farms that exist, and then people that live around them, and we're kind of at capacity for pork farms right now.
Well,
but with these new data centers, right? They're like not necessarily building in like rural areas, right? They're building next to like suburb areas. They're building next to people who pay a little bit more, right? Who have a little bit more property tax, who have a little bit more property value, right? Who are now having a new nuisance being added that they have to get used to versus like being born into a nuisance that is universally like in America accepted, right? Farms and ranches. If you live in a rural area, it's gonna smell like cow shit. It's gonna smell like pig shit. That's kind of what you're dealing with, but like America needs it. America does. Convincing Americans that we need AI and that they have to deal with these data centers for the greater America, because now they also can't sell their houses, right? If you build a new data center next to my house, right, and then there's this noise and all this fucking issue, well, now it's harder for me to sell my house. You kind of just created the new pig farm people, right? You created this community.
Hold on. There's some crazy statements being made that I have to correct. First of all, just on my ranch alone, there's hundreds of cows. There are hundreds of thousands of cows probably in the next like 20 miles of my ranch.
I promise it smells like cow shit.
It smells 1,000 times better. No, listen. It smells 1,000 times better than fucking living in the city. Like I go from one. I
There's another thing. How much cocaine have you done in your lifetime?
Listen, that is enough more than some people need.
Is your nose still intact? Can you still actually smell?
I can smell real good. Like I'm just telling you right now, I smell a definitive difference between when I go to any city. San Antonio's nice, but Houston.
Yeah, fresh air probably smells like shit to you.
And Houston's nice. It's fucking like I don't know, New Orleans, which smells like deep fried ass and pig shit. But like I'm going over here, I go out and here smells like methane from the sulfur.
I don't think your receptors are still like that.
You got to be able to
make that right there.
You really don't go hunting very often. You got to be able to smell. You hunt, all right? You go out there, you know what the smells are, and you identify.
What?
Yeah,
you're not out of here smelling down a deer.
Smell.
He's like Wolverine.
I'm not hunting down a deer, bro.
He picks the dung up off the floor.
What are you hunting? You got to smell them out.
The fucking hogs and the javelinas, bro. What are you trying to
Oh,
say?
the hogs. Well, you might actually be able to smell that one then. Okay.
Yeah, you gotta go out there. Smell these
That's like the
motherfuckers.
one.
Pigs
Good point.
root
Okay.
around. Like hogs root around, javelinas root around. Also
Wow.
coyotes. You gotta smell coyotes. There's that kind of fresh shit. You know, what are you smelling over here? This time.
Okay, but like you don't get up like okay. If you can visually identify the shit, you don't need to like fucking put it up
You gotta
to
be
your
like,
nose.
you gotta go. How long has it been here?
Yeah,
How long?
You gotta taste it. You gotta see how warm it is.
Yeah.
How fresh
I
it is.
tell you, one of us
Black
is
Wood,
fucking deer.
you
Bro.
fucking-
Yes,
Black
this is the
Wood, you
person telling you the
fucking
city
hunting
smells
amateur,
worse
you
than the
don't know.
ranch.
This fucking guy.
How
Well,
much-
Davey
you don't have a-
Crockett-
you don't
Davey
have-
Crockett
you
over
don't
here.
have a
He's
palate.
I'm not even that. I'm not getting all right, Hunter. You must be terrible. Like, what are you
Black Wood
talking
doesn't
about?
have a palate for deer shit. Okay.
Oh, man, bro.
He doesn't
I'm
know.
just-
He doesn't-
he's a
he doesn't have
refined palate.
taste.
This is crazy. He's probably got his
No,
thing
no.
right here. He's got
Burger
his
Hold on,
King,
hold on.
fucking
McDonald's.
pheasant.
This is
He's
the
hunting
palate.
pheasants with the fucking.
Look, there's plenty
British
of rural
Railroad.
areas. There's plenty of rural areas. In my state, I've been to plenty of
Release
these rural
the cows.
areas.
They smell
Lots
horrible.
of cows. Okay, and I'm telling you, you
smell
can smell the cows. You can smell
Yeah,
them.
bro. And
You do get used to it.
And it goes
will
by
get
for a
used to it.
second. It wins on
You
the
get
wind.
used
It's
to it.
gone.
You
get
You
used
know
to
what
it
doesn't
quickly,
go away?
too.
You get
You
used
to it
smell doesn't
quickly.
go away. Nah. You know what
Wait,
smell
that's
doesn't
like
go
saying
away?
wait. When you go to
city.
the butcher, there's like there is just like a distinct smell. That
Well, when
comes
I
with
go
it.
out smell outside, it smells like human shit.
You're surrounded by
everywhere. What are you
surrounded
talking
by
about?
animals that are shitting
Yeah.
outside, that are farting, that you're
Sure.
surrounded by hundreds of thousands of them, right?
Bro,
It's gonna change the smells. It's fine.
Bro,
It's
nothing
fine.
smells. Hold on, nothing smells worse than human piss. And I go
Which is
outside
fine.
every day,
No,
and
but
every
you
time
can
I walk
get
by
used to
homo,
it.
I
We're
smell
changing-
human
We're
piss.
so,
Like,
we're
what
so
are you-
far
what the
past
fuck
the
are you
subject
talking-
right
It
now. We're
smells
so
like
far
somebody
past the subject because you got
Okay.
offended. Because
No,
you got
I'm not
offended that
offended.
your
I'm
fucking
just telling
town
you the facts.
smells like cow
Offended.
shit.
Listen,
Your
I
town
guarantee
smells like
your
cow
town
shit. It's
smells like
fine,
piss,
and it's
bro. It's
okay.
okay.
You
I
make a
never
lot of
smell the
money.
cow shit.
You make a lot of money
Hey,
with the
I'm
manure
okay.
and the cow
I
shit.
just-
It's
I smell-
very,
I live in the
it's very
city. I know-
necessary.
Gibbs, Gibbs.
I live in the city.
Here,
I
let
know
me-
what ammonia smells
said
like.
your
I know.
town, your town.
We all do. We all do. Look,
Yeah.
the
homos.
the
Way
nose
worse.
is very good at detecting changes, but it's not very good at continuing persistence. Thankfully, you're right. The homeless person who's covered themselves in their own piss, they eventually stop smelling how bad they smell. Smokers
we
can't
smell
smell
it.
how bad they smell if they're like chain smoking
True.
because they are smelling it all the time. When you're living in a rural area, it probably smells normal because you're just used to the smell of cow shit. If
I
you
live in the middle of
drive
the
for the
city.
first time into a rural area, it smells like cow shit. You get used
I
to
live
it.
in the middle of a big city, right? One of the biggest ones in
A
the
human
United
city.
States.
That's
A human one,
city.
specifically. A lot of humans live here, right? I go outside. If I open my door,
the shit just to make sure, right?
listen, I go outside, I open my door, and this is like any major city. When I lived in Houston, it was
Yeah.
like this. I
You're
open the
gonna
door, you know
smell
what I
some piss
smell?
in areas,
I
yeah.
smell piss.
Alleys.
That's what I smell.
Alleys,
I
yeah.
smell piss. You walk around.
Near bars.
I'm not gonna lie.
alleys.
I've been to like New York,
This is
Chicago.
because y'all
Like,
are
you don't
proving
smell piss.
you're proving my point. Y'all's noses are just not very sophisticated. Apparently,
No,
y'all went nose blind.
I don't live in Boston, but like I go to Boston, I go to New York. You don't smell just piss everywhere. Now, if you go to like
Yes,
a
you
certain
do.
subway,
Everywhere.
if you go to like an
Subway.
alley
The
or
whole
a subway,
subway.
for
Alleys and
sure you're
subways
gonna
smell
smell
like
piss.
piss,
A certain subway car, you're gonna smell
Under-
piss.
under
Yeah,
every
but
bridge
it's
smells like
distinct
piss.
as fuck.
Yeah, under
But
the
you're
bridge.
saying every
We're
time
not
you
hanging out
open
under
your door-
bridges, Gibbs.
What
the fuck are you doing?
I'm driving, bitch. I got a truck. Where you going? Like,
You smell the piss while you're driving under the
do you
bridge.
not? Do you
No.
not? You're gonna, oh
What?
my god, bro! How do you not smell the piss? Every bridge you go under, it just
Where
smells
do
like
you
a
live, Gibbs? Where do you
there's no
live?
way.
Everywhere,
There's no way.
every city I've ever been to.
You make
If you
enough
go
money.
Every city, as you drive under a bridge,
chain
it
and
just
smells
move.
like
smell the
fucking
piss?
shit. Yeah, it smells like ammonia. How do you not smell this shit? Like, bro, what the fuck?
Maybe you
live
do
where
have the
you
most
live.
like sensitive nose in the fucking.
Oh my god,
This is
bro!
crazy.
Have you been to LA or like San Diego? Like,
No,
it's-
I avoid these
oh
places.
my god.
No, but I have been to the smelliest city. I've been to New York City, and I know. Yes, you can smell piss. It definitely certain alleys.
Just go down like
walking
Burger
around.
Street in
This is
Norway.
a
Tell me
thing.
that's not like piss. The
Oh,
whole city.
yeah, I'm sure there's certain. Okay, yeah. If you start walking around during Mardi Gras, everything might smell
I'm
like
talking about
piss.
doing Mardi Gras. I'm talking about like a Tuesday on February, like in the
Yeah,
middle of
there's
like
certain areas, but you said every bridge.
every bridge, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, all of it.
No.
But Gibbs said when he opened his front door, he just smells the piss.
It's
That's
just
the
like
first
a
thing he
wall of
smells.
piss you smell.
Uh-huh.
as you go
So,
outside.
so at this point,
And then you
how
get
is it
out
you're
to
not-
where the cow
yeah.
shit, and you're just like,
I'm like,
"Ugh,
thank
fresh
God."
air.
He
Smells like
lives
heaven.
between cow shit and hobo piss. Gibbs, you need to move. All right,
Bro,
you need to move.
I'm just saying, y'all must over here. Y'all talking about nose blind. Sounds like y'all are nose
But
blind.
no, but the point,
Maybe
the
y'all
point
should
of
be
the
doing the
original
cocaine
statement,
that I've done.
but the point that brought us here, I know you got offended. This wasn't to offend the ranchers or the farmers or the rural livers, but the point is that like now you do have it's a new nuisance, right? Which I think is harder for people to get used to, which is why you're gonna have certain reactions coming from these people, right? You just implemented this fucking noise into my life. I have a certain property tax that I pay and a certain way of living. Yeah, people are gonna snap, especially if they're not being listened to.
Their property. Well, don't worry about the property taxes; they're going to fall because the property values are going to fall.
But their values are going to fall too.
Solution to the housing crisis.
I mean, is this? If we're just talking about like a descriptive claim, sure. We already have examples like in the prompt of people like acting violently when they don't like something happening.
You're only going to do that more,
but
right?
this happens all the time for everything, I guess. So I don't see how useful of an observation is.
I think it's different.
Like,
I think the necessity is different. Like when the Industrial Revolution happened and you have like factories being built everywhere, people see the need and the use, right? But like I don't think people see the need and the use of AI.
Hold on. There was massive amounts of violence during the Industrial Revolution when it came to the change in labor relations. You had the Pinkertons and you had the unions that were like literally involved in open warfare, like with guns and shit. You had people targeting company owners. You had sometimes when like the environmental agencies were trying to stop companies, you had workers that depended on those factories targeting the agents and targeting the people that were trying to stop these. I mean, this was a big thing in my state, like when the paper mills, for example, they were having when the paper mills were having a whole bunch of issues with PCBs and other shit they were putting into water. A lot of the people that were trying to stop the paper mills, like EPA activists and other forms of environmental activists, they were getting targeted. Even now, you have like oil workers and people targeting. This happens all the time. Whenever people feel a threat to their their livelihood or their community or anything like that, they might react violently. But that's not really going towards the question of is it right that they do that, right?
Yeah,
I don't think it's.
I think if you're being aggressed upon, you act violently after like the other ways don't work. I think it's fine. I think
do you think
it makes sense? I don't want it to happen, but also like I don't understand what the expectation is otherwise.
Well, wait, just to clarify, Ali, like you think it's let's say fine if people are like let's say tearing down these data centers, not that they're attacking people, or you think that's fine?
I'm curious.
I want to rephrase fine, right? I think it's like I understand it, right? It makes sense that if people do it, so like the expectation is there for me that this will happen, and so when it does happen, I'm not surprised. I guess that's the best way.
One of the things that kind of led to why there was such a violent reaction in the Industrial Revolution and why we have things like Marx and some of these others is because what do you do with a large population? I guess what I'm really wondering is if AI is going to lead to a population boom. On like one hand, if it actually solves all these problems, and then it's like, oh, we have all the leisure time in the world, are the people going to want to have more kids, or are they going to want to have less kids, right? They
want AI kids.
Okay, but hold on. So if it's got less kids, then that means we're gonna need less. We're gonna need less like government or less support for all this population because the population would trend downward, right? Would be the thought, right? So as opposed with the Industrial Revolution, they needed the labor and they needed a large population, and then because of modern medicine advances, they we're having kids in a larger numbers, and they're putting them in for all sorts of stuff because you also had the high death rates of people, and so you had a population boom that went hand in hand with the Industrial Revolution. And I'm wondering if it's going to happen here, and y'all seem to be agreeing it's not going to happen, right?
So I think so I one again, like I said at the start of this, I bullish on AI, but it's not transformational in that way. It won't solve the fucking housing crisis or anything like that. It won't solve these big issues. Software has its limits, right, as to what it can do. And it can make business processes more efficient. It has the possibility of doing that, but that can only go so far, right? And so I don't think that's even a concern, unless there's something transformational that happens right between now and sometime in the future. But I was gonna say, talking, bringing the topic back to violence, right? Lacta reminded me of something. Have you guys heard of a tree spiking? You ever heard of that phrase before?
Yeah, where environmentalists will put spikes in trees, and so then when you cut them down, they'll shoot spikes basically and kill the lumber workers.
They'll embed spikes in them, and then they put them around waist height, and so when you take a chainsaw to them, right?
Oh, it like spews the spikes out.
Yeah, like shrapnel.
Yeah.
Really?
Spits shrapnel.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Environmentalists used to do this a lot.
Yeah, right. These are like examples of violence when people feel that the legal method, right? There is no other route to take. And again, to be clear, no matter what, Twitch, no matter what anyone says here, no one is advocating for anything.
Yeah.
But like I do want to examine this idea of like the system failing you, right? And like what actually like gets results. Because like people don't talk about it, but like the riots that happened, like when black people were fighting in the 60s and 70s and 80s, right? Like when that happened, that actually produced results. Like that, like people, the society responded to that, right? Like it's not as if like they weren't marching the entire time, right? And like, oh, okay, like let's put violence aside, and if we just march, right, we march hard enough, like change will happen. That helped to a certain extent, but like the violence moved people, right? There was a backlash to the violence always, right? There's a crackdown, and there were awful consequences, right? That in the LA riots, right? Awful consequences, but like policy change happened. And so like what do we do with this as a society? If that's true, what do we do with that as a society? What do we say about this?
Well, I mean, this is really concerning, right? Like, because once again, like, I think part of what happened with like the Industrial Revolutions, like I said, it had the population. One of the things we know AI is going to continue to do is going to be making the military more fucking efficient. That's just going to happen and more deadly in like all these different ways, right? And so when you're talking about the violence, okay, I think that there is something to be said because we just saw this attack on the Trump attack on the cabinet and all that just recently. There's a third one, four if you count the Iran one, right? We saw Charlie Kirk. We've seen, you mentioned this other guy, the mayor person. We're seeing it at even lower levels. I think they just had a fucking alleged a plot against like the man, like what was it? Some cabinet position I'd like maybe read about one time the other day, and I was like, okay, well, you're going after like way down the line guys now. Like people are getting it, and like I'm only mentioning right ones right now, but like there's been lefties that have been shot at, assassinated throughout history too. Like, and the change did happen. You can look at like after JFK got shot, there was like fast change. My concern is though, and I think AI ties into this, is okay. You like, listen, I'm on the right, for the most part here. But like, do you like that's? I don't want to empower the government too much one or the other. And like, if we're starting to take pot shots at the president, and then he's able to enact some kind of law or that's a little bit more draconian, like that's a real fucking issue. And then who do you think is going to win this shit? Like y'all always want to tell me, Gibbs, you're a dumbass. Do you think Texas can fight the United States? Well, okay, it's that same. Let's apply the same logic. If we're going to keep shooting at the president and he gets a law passed or some executive order, the future presidents decide to uphold that, and they're using this AI, like, oh, then none of us are going to win this shit. And so, like, what do you want to do here? Like, do you think the answer is really be taking out politicians? Like, I mean, at some point we got to come up with a new plan. No, I mean, obviously, it's like rhetorical. Like, yeah, like so, like the other side. Like, if your goal is to get like left change, or if it's on the right and say this was reversed, is to take it out. And now you've got a monster like the U.S. military with the computers that can run this shit. I can't go make a fucking AI fighter backer, as opposed to used to. I can go hide in the woods. Maybe I can't. Maybe somebody else could. But like I'm not that fucking guy, pal. And so when you're sitting here going and saying all this, I think there's a real concern that like we've empowered the monster with this AI, and then if someone is going to use the right to bear arms and they're going to go do this, like okay. Maybe we should be smart about it, because if it's just random lone wolf gunman 57, for the sixth time, you're going to get some legislation that fucks people up that we can't even react when actually it's time to go, oh, God, we actually have fucking Hitler 2.0 in here. Like, I mean, that's something we should be worried about, I think.
Well, I don't think anybody's advocating for like wanting to take out politicians, but I think Prime's point is like, well, what do you do when it's like the system is supposed to respond to like the public's concerns, but it's not doing that? And like, what is the public supposed to do when the system that they're relying upon is not actually responding to their concerns? If there's this uproar to like all of this noise and all of it ever increased electricity costs from the public, and the system is not responding to that, then what is the public supposed to do?
But it's even more than that. It's even more than that. So it's exactly what you said, but it's more than that, right? So like the reason why I I decided to make this topic is like, okay, if these data centers, especially the ones who are spewing pollution, right? Maybe not the ones that our friend Gibbs is talking about, because as he's saying, like they're like away from the population, right? And so they might be fine. But for the ones that are like embedded in communities, right? Like again, like Elon Musk, one that I talked about before, that's like the gas turbines like spewing, right? There's going to be a certain number of people who die from that pollution, right? Like it just increases the number of deaths. However, we can't, right? As I had this conversation with Lactoid years ago, right? And he goes, "Oh, Prime, we can't like
It's exactly how Lactoid
That's exactly how it
sounds
sounds.
like.
We can't
Even worse
directly
than that,
link
actually.
cancer, right, to just one plant, right? And so what are we supposed to do, Prime, right?
Typical
legal
Lactoid.
business, right?
I think I remember that conversation. It went like that.
Yeah. So, but then what that says is, but all that says is that like the legal system like cannot respond to this issue, right? That's all that says. Not that the problem doesn't exist. Those people are still going to die, right? And so like if like there's a certain amount of people who are going to die, right? And you understand that from the beginning, well then wouldn't you have a right to defend yourself? Like if you knew that a military force is coming into your local community, right? Some offensive military force, and they tell you beforehand, anyone who's still there, right? We're going to kill like 2% of you. Like that, they just state that, right? Randomly, we're going to pick 2% of you, and we're going to shoot you. Would you not have the right to defend yourself there as well? Like,
unfortunately, well, the answer is you do. And in this country specifically, like the answer when the legal shit doesn't work is to riot or do violence. Like that is just kind of like, that's the founding of our country. That is kind of how we've achieved all of our greatest things. Like people will say might makes right until it's like might makes right against the people who are running this country. It's very weird. It's very strange. But the answer is, unfortunately, like if they're not listening to you through your vote, and they're not listening to you through your peaceful protests, well, then, yeah, you do end up resorting to riot and violence for people to listen to you. That is the way of America.
I had a discussion. I was just fact checking some things to make sure what I was saying is correct. And it is. Which I intuitively I knew it was right, but I just wanted to verify with sources. So I can give you guys those sources if you'd like. But I had a debate, not really a debate, more of a discussion with somebody who I disagree with very strongly. It's a prior streamer named Socialism Done Left, SDL. And he is a big reformist, despite the fact he's a communist, a dirty communist, just to be clear, as all communists are.
Not one of those clean communists, right?
There's no such thing. And what he argued is that, let's the principled deontologist is going to be opposed to violence because it violates the rules. It violates the principles. Just don't do it. But what if you don't? What if you're not about that? What if you're just more of like a utilitarian, which a lot of left wingers tend to lean towards in terms of their philosophical understanding? Well, even from a utilitarian perspective, reform is almost always better than revolution, just on the numbers. So there has been large-scale meta-analyses, and nonviolence campaigns succeeded in achieving their stated goals. So this is it analyzed 323 major resistance campaigns between 1900 and 2006. Nonviolent campaigns were successful in achieving their goals 53% of the time, compared to only 26% of their time for violent campaigns, so roughly a 2-to-1 advantage. Nonviolent campaigns had higher rates of partial success, and violent campaigns were much more likely to fail outright. And when the violent campaigns were successful, they were about 10 times more likely to result in authoritarian measures and authoritarian outcomes as opposed to nonviolent efforts and movements. So it just seems that not only is peaceful, nonviolent, reform-focused movements, they are just more effective statistically at achieving their goals. And when they do achieve the goals, they tend to be have better overall effects in terms of human progression, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of democracy, as opposed towards violent. There are exceptions. Again, that there is obviously that 26%. There are some examples we all point to the American Revolution as one of them, being that most of us are Americans. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be examples where, perhaps there is a level of resistance to change that an autocracy has that, it requires some kind of revolution. But the vast majority of the time, especially when there's still a system that is that is responsive to some degree to the will of the people, nonviolence is almost always going to be better. And America does have that. Well, in large respects, we do have voting. We do have a representative democracy. I know people like freak out. I mean, it's not like we're living under Tsarist Russia or the fucking King of England. Like we have the ability to make change with enough public outcry.
But in that same study, right, I would actually wonder, like, because you said 51% of the time, 51% of the time, like the nonviolent action, the whatever, like works, 53. Right? But then like, in those violent ones, is it because they tried the nonviolent way first and then they had to resort to the violent action, which then got them to 28 or 26%, right? Or is it just like off rip they started with violent, right? I'm not saying that like you start with violent action immediately, but after all things are exhausted and you have nothing left, well then you'd resort to the violence, which could potentially get you the 26% that you're.
Yeah, I haven't done. I haven't. I'll be honest. It's like a pretty long thing in a book. I have not fully read it.
Obviously,
I saw an article from the researchers that conducted it. So I'll post it, just I guess for interest.
I'm just wondering how much, like, what percentage of those violent acts were done after the trial of like nonviolence, right? Because if it's only 51% of the time that you get your things through nonviolence, then it kind of those stats a little bit make sense then.
It's a fair question, but I mean, obviously, there's going to have to be some delineation here. Otherwise, I think I would agree, it'd be almost entirely useless. But there's going to be some delineation here between, okay, what is the definition here that we're using for like violent movement? And what I would assume is just if the movement becomes violent, what are the effects that lead this to being less effective? And the top effect I can think of is probably going to be losing public trust. You talked about the civil rights movement, Prime. I think one of the big reasons why BLM lost so much steam was because of the violence associated with the movement, and why you saw such a decline in popularity over the years, specifically because of the attributing of violence to the BLM movement. And why the BLM movement was so careful to try to say, no, we're not violent. This is a tiny percentage. This doesn't represent us, right? They treated the violence as radioactive for a reason, because if your movement is associated with violence, you lose public trust, and also you encourage counter movements, because people don't like to be victims of violence. Yeah, right. And so this leads to be not as effective as well.
I don't think anybody disputes that. Just like whatever war, like most people, I think as a guiding principle, like never go to war, but like there are some wars that are justified, and like but on average, like as in there's a time and place for war. But on the whole, your guiding principle should always be like, don't go to war. But I think everyone recognizes there's some tipping point that you got to.
Well, that's what I think too. That's what I think as well. I just think that like data centers are obviously not the fucking tipping point. Yes, some kind of dictator, some kind of totalitarian shit.
For you, because you don't live near. Well, for you, because they didn't build a data center near you.
Even if I lived, no.
You don't know that. You don't know that. You don't live near one, so you don't really get to say that like the data center isn't the tipping point. How much was your house? Right? Like I'm not asking you to like actually tell me. Okay, so your house was cheap, right? So like, and you bought it.
What if there was a pig farm right next door?
So that's the thing, right? If someone comes and builds like a pig farm in your community or builds a data center in your community, you don't know what the actual.
And if somebody builds multi-level, you're right. And I'm generally opposed to like NIMBYism, but let's say somebody tomorrow builds like an apartment complex next to my house. Yeah, it might suck so much that I'll be opposed to it.
No, an apartment complex is different. And saying you're opposed to something is one thing, but saying that something is like an actual nuisance and an actual effect on your life, like yes, I get that you don't like apartment
NIMBYs totally exist. You're saying they're all wrong?
No. What kind? A little bit, right? I'm saying there's a difference between being like a NIMBY for like multi-family housing versus being like a NIMBY for like pig farms or like data centers being built in your backyard.
No, I don't think there's really that much of a difference.
I think there is, right? I think like if you can like actually show me where like the apartment complex is going to make a sufficient amount of noise compared to like a data center, right? If you can show me the actual effect, the actual negative effect on your life, sure. But like for right now, what we're talking about is the fact that like these data centers are like causing large enough nuisance where people are reacting violently, right? And your answer is kind of like, well, no, they should just have to deal with it because you don't have to deal with it.
No, I no,
So, like,
I think
yeah.
I think no, I didn't necessarily say that. I think zoning is a better way of handling this. You can have solutions that are based on reform as opposed to violence when it comes to even the data centers here. But I think that apartment complexes being built next to people, and there's massive movements against this. There's entire cities like San Francisco that are opposed to this because when you look, when you're born into like a suburb or a rural area, and your whole way of life revolves around this low kind of density living, a large apartment building next to you could be as disruptive to somebody as a data center. And even if you disagree with that, I think you would be forced to agree that a data center is much closer to an apartment building than like a SAR.
I agree with their
hold on. I agree with them not wanting. There's a bigger issue. I agree with them not wanting. Well, like, sorry, I want to jump in here just because, like, what you're saying, I think, is maybe not the whole picture, and like. I guess now is the time that I'm going to bring up some other shit, right? And so you're like, we're talking about the AI data centers. And there's a reason why I brought up the ones that are going down the hill country, the water crisis, right? Because what's happened here is these people prepared and did these things the right way. They actually took like EPA safeguards, like not fucking disrupt the environment, all these other shit they've done. Like, it's like I would say, if it wasn't for the water system, if you were going to have a design where you build something right, this is the way to do it. Now, we have this water crisis, and the issue is not really them. The issue is what we were talking about, the city managers, right? Which brings us kind of to where we're talking about with the city councilman at I forget the name, which state where it was that this happened in the Prime posted thing. But like I'm not advocating that anybody goes down there and takes a pot shot at the fucking city council for Corpus Christi, because that's not really going to change anything. You're just going to put somebody else that's either corrupt or inept in there. What I am advocating for is we get these fuckers out. The real issue that I think is problem, and this is going to come back to, I guess, kind of the recent news, is we're seeing people take pot shots at like high government. Now we're seeing them take pot shots at fucking low level government. We're seeing like even like basically like logistics cabinet members arguably are having people have like shots taken at them, for whatever reason. We don't really need to know those, but I think the motives are coming down to what is what we really need to look at. And I don't think it's what you're talking about, Ellie. I think it's because we had groups like the SPLC fucking coming in here and labeling people hate groups, and then they're making people fucking hate them because they're saying everybody believes something's racist, and then they go out there, they're the ones finding the racism the whole time. And so now, if you're a regular Joe Schmo, and I brought this up in the backlog with you, it's extremely concerning to me that you don't know what the Southern Poverty Law Center is. Not because I think you're like a dumb or anything, because I think you are intelligent. It's concerning that like people are ignorant of this subject, and or the fact that this kind of shit is happening, and we're so like algorithm trained, right, left, all the way, that like whenever you see something, everybody's first reaction is at blame whatever you see in the algo, instead of like really looking at what's going on and who's pulling strings. And then I know people are going to label me a conspiracy theorist. I guess, that's PLC. But like Alex Jones said this shit after it happened in 2016, and he's the king of conspiracy theorists. Why the fuck is like that even a thing? Like, why are we now arguing that potentially Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens are like actually in cahoots on this too now? Like, to the point, like it's like people can't even tell what's real, and AI some to deal with that. But I think the algorithm and the people abusing the algorithms are the bigger problem in my mind, and that's why we have people taking pot shots instead of trying to use the system to change the system.
Just question to our friend Lactoid. And if you don't have an answer, that's fine, right?
Sure.
I'm just looking at your study, and it's defining like what it's looking at in terms of nonviolent versus violent movements. Success as overthrowing a government or getting territorial.
Those are the two. Those are the two things they're looking at, like a change in government structure or in separation from a political entity. Yep. Yeah.
I mean, so when I was talking before, I wasn't thinking about like that level, like revolution. I was thinking of like, a policy change or a massive like policy shift. And it may not have that. It just may not be included. But like, I'm curious as to how that works. When like the goal isn't necessarily to topple a government, but to get it to respond in a way it hasn't done through the legal system, right? I wonder if the stats would be different. Maybe it'd be the same. I don't know. But like, So do you have anything? Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think. I mean, I haven't seen anything that granular. I think that you're going to have more difficulty because I think when it comes to that, the question of like what the actual aims and success is like far more
Much easier to know when the
it's more
government's on top of it,
subjective,
yeah.
right? As opposed to are new people in charge or not,
Yeah.
right? And when it comes to that, when it comes to a shift in power and who's like holding the reins of power, overwhelmingly, like nonviolent protests are more effective, which would make I actually find it to be a little bit interesting because.
Do you think, bro? Listen, I like, why does Gandhi have like a peace prize, or why is Gandhi talked about? He's like one of the few times in history where like national change happened at the level it did in India through nonviolent. I'm gonna have to disagree with Prime here. There's a reason why shit changed at the LA riots. It's because there was violence. Like on both sides, we saw the Korean
you can point to examples.
Yeah, but
I can point to examples of successful violent revolutions.
But violence is way more. Yeah, even then there was still crazy political change after there's revolutions every time. Violence is going to cause something to happen every time. Non-violence, you might not have a result.
No. But here's the problem. The problem is, like, you might be more cognizant and more aware of instances of violent revolution being successful because they're more like not like they're bigger historical events. When the Tsar was overthrown in Russia and the Soviet government took over, this was a massive shift. It led to a whole bunch of negative shit. I mean, not saying the Tsar was good, okay? Terrible, horrible, had secret police, right? A lot of the shit the Soviets were doing, they learned from having it done to them by the Tsar. I mean, it wasn't like a
Wait, you say that was a peaceful takeover?
No, that was a violent takeover. But I'm saying it's like it's an example of what would be defined as a successful takeover because the government did absolutely shift. They killed the government very directly. When it comes to the American Revolution,
one way or the other, even if it's a successful or unsuccessful one, violence is going to make you do policy change, right? And this is what I'm talking about with like they're taking city leaders, they're taking out like cabinet members, they're going after Trump.
But what I'm saying
is, violence, you're going to get a definitive change one way or the other. If you do nonviolence, sometimes nothing happens at all.
Or
they're just going to go back to nothing.
Sometimes nothing happens at all. But when it comes to violent, when it comes to violent revolution, the likelihood of the change being bad or aggressive is significantly higher. And to be honest with you, I'm not even sure if I know you're saying it, but I actually don't know if it is true. I can give you plenty of examples of violent like attempts. Like Turkey's had like what fucking 5 coup attempps now, and every time. The military the military administration is rearranged.
And then what happens?
The actual.
And then the Kurds get fucking wiped out because they get blamed every time. So, like, significant violent change happened.
The Kurds weren't blamed for the coup.
But what? They were literally blamed for one of the coups. That's why they won't fucking back them in other countries.
I'm not talking about like the Kurds are blamed for like localized quote unquote terrorist activity that the Kurds have been doing in eastern Turkey. This does happen. I'm talking about the military coups, the ones that were led by military leadership like multiple times over in Turkey. And yes, this is a consistent problem with Turkey. They just recently had their last one in like 2012 or some shit. And the military leadership got like rearranged. Of course, the people involved got arrested and all that shit. But in terms of like the actual structure of the Constitution, I don't think there was any major changes.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the Constitution. I'm talking about like
in terms of policy, other than replacing the generals that were involved with it.
They've been cracking down all over the place. That's like all been news for a while. They've been more repressive. That's why they got put on watch list by like EUs and I don't know about the EU, but several countries. But like, hey, maybe don't send your people here. They're on a different level than they were before, and that's why like all the they started pushing all the Turkey like tourism thing with the fucking balding and stuff. Like, come on, this is like actual change that literally happened due to.
Was that because of the coup?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have a prospering medical industry and all of a sudden now you're perceived as having a more violent nation, you're going to have to start doing advertising to get people over there. Like that's just like literally hand in hand. And they made more regulations that encourage some of these industries in order to get more money in from outside. Like this is just a hand in hand policy change that you see directly happen every single time violence occurs. In some manner, there's going to be a policy, whether it's like just a little level, or like, oh, we have security change. 9/11, that was pretty big about terrorism. Right, that affected us for decades with security. Right, like I mean, it's just like you wouldn't think. Oh, okay. I mean, you would think that's a pretty drastic one, but like there's all sorts of stuff like the Oklahoma City bombing. Like there was drastic security changes after that. Like every time there's major change.
You have to be careful though, right? Like yes, like the Oklahoma City bombing happened, and there was major change. Right, and 9/11 happened. There was major change. That doesn't mean that has a
good or bad
policy goal.
Yeah, it doesn't accomplish like local policy goals.
Not the Unabomber. He's another one. Are they like, sitting all these people?
Okay, here. Let's talk about the Unabomber for a second.
Changes.
Well, hold on, let's talk about the Unabomber for a second. Did the Unabomber get any environmentally friendly goals passed?
I mean, I'm not saying they got the goals they wanted passed. I'm saying that
that's the goal of a movement.
What I'm sure it's the goal of the movement. What I'm saying is every time, whether it's good or bad, when you enact and go straight to violence, the damning part might be you get a bad goal thing, a bad policy because you were unsuccessful, right? That might happen, and that is equally as likely, if not more likely, to happen than if you're successful. So when Prime poses the question, hey, what should we do when the system breaks down? And I point to an example here where you even do everything you're supposed to do within the system, and you're still taking some of the blame as a business owner, that like, even though it's mainly the city, right, and you might have to take a pot shot. I'm saying the real problem is, because I don't think you actually are going to have the likelihood of getting the change you want. I'm saying, okay, we should do it through the system. We should do all these other things. But what do you do when the system breaks down? That's the question. And I'm saying if you go and start taking pot shots, that's really bad, because more times than not, you're not going to get the change you want, and you're only going to get a change. But instead, y'all want to talk about this instead of identifying the real problem.
We're not talking. We're not talking about any change.
Which has become the cultural shift in America today that goes, all my problems haven't been worked out through the system. Immediately blame system. Let's go shoot somebody. And I'm saying definitively one side is doing that more than the other right now through people like Hassan, through like the SPLC, all these different things. And then we want to blame business owners and data centers when I can give an exact example where even though they are still fucking us, they planned and did it right. And it's the government's job. And instead of that, our argument is go shoot these people. That is a problem. That is a problem.
No, it's a problem. But hold on, I agree with you. It's a problem. But what I'm trying to do is is it a problem for the people doing it in their mind if it's for their goals? Because for a lot of these people, they're very strict utilitarians where they're just thinking there's no bad tactics, there's only bad targets. In their mind, they're trying to think about this is a bad thing or whatever, but we might have to do it to accomplish, whatever the fuck Hassan wants to accomplish.
It's a just goal
communism,
in their
whatever
mind.
the fuck. Right, it's a just goal in their mind.
That.
But here's the thing, it seems like from the evidence we do have, which Prime makes a good point, it's not granular enough to be fully dispositive for any kind of question here. But what it seems to show is that when there is a political movement to try to shift something pretty dramatic, which I'm pretty sure the people you just listed do want a fundamental change in the way the U.S. government runs. When they're trying to shift something dramatic, being nonviolent is historically much more likely to be successful than a violent campaign. Because the violent campaign, you're right, maybe it leads the powers that be to crack down more on security, but that's not the goal these people want. They don't want to live under more security. They want to accomplish their goals. And if their goals aren't accomplished, that means they lose. It means that that goes into the 75 roughly percent of the violent campaigns that
no, but sometimes
successful.
they want the more crackdown. They want it because the worse it gets for everybody, then guess what? Now they're going to have more ammo for their fire, right? And so what I'm saying is we have a group that is motivated to make shit as bad as it can be because they are trying to hold power no matter what it costs.
They're crazy.
And so my argument that I'm making here is that, hey, instead of saying let's go blame business owners, let's go sit here and blame the system, maybe we should look at the motivations for why people are coming to this utilitarian conclusion that you're saying, because they're pure utilitarians. That's bullshit. Maybe the person that took the pot shot is because they bought the propaganda, but Puppet Master Bob over here is over here going, guess what? We're going to fucking instigate to be all this bullshit.
You're not going to change these people's minds on that.
I'm not saying we need to change those people. We need to make the average person aware of this shit.
Sure.
And we need to go after them using the system to go after them.
I agree. When it comes to shifting the reasonable people,
argument terrorism.
When it comes to the regular person, attack the basis of the propaganda. I agree. When it comes to the lunatics, you challenge their methodology because you're never going to move them on their principles. What instead you're going to have to do is show them, empirically speaking, this violent shit that you're saying doesn't work. Don't do it. Yeah, go out and fucking march or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, but this is the issue, Lactoid.
Well, you just told you to go out and march whatever the fuck. That doesn't work either.
The issue, yeah, well, sure.
It's more likely to work.
Sure, that's one issue, right?
So does voting, but it doesn't feel like it's working.
I
feel like
think it's lawsuits. I think that's what we should be doing, is going after lawsuits. We need more indictments, and people are going to go, "Oh, Gibbs is wants to step on the throat of these people." And no, I don't like this on either way. But and it's sad that we've reached this point. But people have currently been using the system against the people, and now I think it's time we use a system against those people, like that have been abusing it. Like that's why the system designed with checks and balances. I understand, like you're saying, it's some utilitarian thing. I understand Prime is saying he thinks the system's broken down and it's failing people. But I think the only way we can change shit is really through the system. Someone asked me the other night, Gibbs, what would you do if AOC became president and used executive order to eliminate beef? I'd be like, well, I'd fight her in the courts. I'd hire lobbyists over here. We'd get some other people together. That's the way. I wouldn't go over and start like doing the fucking beef ranchers revolution, even though I got a fuck ton of guns. Like, why? Because I'm not trying to, one, die when a fucking Reaper drone shoots me, and two, I think that's going to be way less effective than going through the court system. And it's just when we sit here and go, oh, what's the
lawsuits are part of nonviolence.
Yeah, but the immediate response is, oh, the average person can't do that. Oh no, but the average person can do that.
So okay, so if AOC does do like a beef ban tomorrow, right? Like
sure.
Queen AOC does a beef ban tomorrow. Yeah. You understand that like a majority of beef ranchers are probably going to like protest, and like most people aren't going to go to their local constituents or go vote or like go legal. They're going to go riot because like the immediate reaction is, well, hey, you took money out of my mouth. This is a violent attack against me, which is going to be met with a violent attack against you. And I understand what you're saying when you're like I feel like you're kind of leaning towards like stochastic terrorism, where you're like Hassan Piker and the SPLC, and
I don't care so much about Hassan. I think Hassan's at least being honest. I care more about the SPLC because they've sat here and acted like they're a civil rights group while funding these groups, and they've created an issue that wasn't there in order to milk it for the donations.
I've heard this argument.
Can we not do that?
Okay, I'm going to tell the truth here. They absolutely did. They funded the people over. It was yes, they did.
You were groups that already there, and they were paid.
Where's Patriot Front? Where's the Patriot Front right now? They don't lie. The Patriot Front almost doesn't even. Yes, we are. We are. The Patriot Front literally does not even exist right now, and arguably they were one of the funding people for the Charlottesville rally. We're already seeing that this was possibly created all the way from scratch. Like so, yes, some of these groups have been created. Yeah, they have, or they took groups that existed. They were all going. Sure, or they created them from basically scratch, or they took groups that were already dying off and they funded them into something that was bigger than it was because they needed an enemy to fight. This is a common thing. This is absolutely 100% what happened, and we're seeing it. I mean, we can see it. We literally just. I mean, this is what we've been saying for decades now, and now it's come true. I know you don't care, but this is the problem.
I don't want to talk about this. Right?
I know you don't, but it's tied to the topic, and like
let's talk. We can talk about it after the case is done. Let's talk about when evidence has actually been presented.
Yeah, but this is a problem that we've been saying has been happening over and over and over, and we're seeing this done. And even if you don't use the SPLC, we can talk about media person. The problem is, this is what I brought up for Son with it. Like, they're two different things, and they're both nefarious. And I'm arguing the problem isn't the AI centers or these other things, because it's probably the movement behind these using these tools. So yeah, it's absolutely the issue. I know you don't want to talk about it because it's true.
It's probably less the propaganda. It's probably less the propaganda or less the people being like influenced or something versus more of the people have felt an effect. So like Luigi Mangione, for example, right, was like, he's not a broke guy. The guy had some money, right? But his mom was affected by the by the healthcare insurance that they were using, and she couldn't get her back fixed. And he had back, I don't know, some bullshit, right? Like he was affected, right? And then he feels like that this denial of service care that he's paying for is a act of violence towards his mother, right? So then what's met is like an act of violence towards the CEO, right? It might not be the best way, right? It might not be good. It might not have even, it won't even like solve anything. But like you're kind of saying that like, well, we need to get people to understand that like that's not the best way to handle it. Well, it's like the issue is that people have kind of we're getting met with final straws, right? This is the last straw. That straw that broke the camel's back. Because
they're being paid agitators. That's a straw.
No. It's not paid. I don't think Luigi Mangione was a paid agitator, right? I think there's people who like look at insurance companies, for example, and they're like, hey, these people are like causing violence to me and my family. They're enacting legal violence towards me and my family, and like people are dying, and then like there's no repercussion for them. So like, all right, well, I guess I gotta give them the repercussion. If there is no justice in the world, people do become Batman, right? They do become vigilantes if they feel like they can't get justice, and they like they're just looking around for like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? They're gonna go crazy if they do nothing.
Yeah,
right?
but Ali, like this is the problem. Like it's even the policy, right? Like, so, like, okay, let's talk about welfare. All of these welfare systems, right? I'm an anti-welfare person the entire time I've come on these panels. Day one, like I'm like I don't want my tax dollars going to Bob over here just because he's homeless. Like for whatever reason, I don't want my tax dollars going to me. I've said this a million times. However, I've almost got to the point now that I would be willing to see what these programs look like if we gutted the fraud. Because, like, I think we actually haven't given them a fair shake. Like, you should be the one, as a Democrat voter, that should be the most upset about this. Because instead of dealing with the problem through the system, they're sitting here pointing the blame at the righties, and they're going, using to fund hate groups and fund all these other people and pushing a narrative that's driving, calling people to go, oh, I'm having violence enacted against me, when it's the people you put in charge and then started running corruption through the welfare system that's going. If you actually had these people caring about you after you elected, maybe we wouldn't have these people in need and going, oh my God, violence being enacted against me, because all this welfare would be working as intended and we could have a glorious utopia. But we don't have that. Yeah, but we don't have that because you have so much corruption, and these corrupt people are hiring marketing teams to push an algorithm and a narrative that's corrupting people and not talking about this shit. And that's why crime is going, oh, I don't want to talk about this, because this is what's happening right now. Is it's not even the corruption that's being dealt with. I would be willing to rerun these programs in another form, almost through the system again right now with the money that was allocated to them, and see if it worked for, like, I don't know, a period of 5-10 years. Let's see it. But guess what? We can't do that because it's so corrupt now. And now that we're looking at the corruption, that we're finding out, but they've been agitated the whole time, and you're going, oh, it's the violence. What do we do? Like,
but the issue from like your end is that, like, and like from what I hear, unfortunately, is that like you only see corruption on the one side, right? It's only corruption on the left. It's the SPLC that's pushing out all the
uniparty, bro. Like, that's the problem. Like the right and the left, the uniparties are
now you're saying it's a uniparty, but like anytime you speak, it's the left, it's the Dems, it's the left, because, it's the Dems, it's the left.
That's because one side, right? Well, which side's the SPLC, which side all these others? Like, I mean I said Nazis are socialists the whole time.
I'm sure Prime or like Corey could like sit here and find like right-wing propaganda groups that are highly funded, so on. So I mean,
they're not agitating. They're not telling people to shoot people.
The issue is you fall to the same propaganda just on the other side.
Yeah, but hold on. The point is these groups that y'all label hate groups are the ones.
But you're over here with like, you know.
But the reason why Prime doesn't want to talk about this is because look, the SPLC, the same group. Like pointed. Hold on. If they talked about the groups, right, Ali, is this the groups they go, oh, libs a TikTok hate group. They put all these others. They classify them, say, as Nazis, which might be a one-off. But the minute we sit here and talk about that, we go, oh, wait a minute. They're funding all these fucking groups. So they're playing both sides. And they're going, look, this is a problem. These hate groups. Oh, they're funding the military. Okay, so if you're all doing this, they're pointing to a problem they created, and they're saying we're the solution as opposed to dealing with it. Like, it's crazy. I know you don't care because, like, you don't want to admit that's what's actually happening.
Whatever. You have no fucking evidence.
We have proof. The indictments are out there.
Your daddy told you.
Daddy told me. I mean, we're seeing the evidence. We're seeing the 4,000 indictments.
Proof anything.
I mean, they're at least started something.
He really believes it, right?
I mean, it's been happening.
Propaganda machine.
Wait, so did they not give the money to? Yes or no? We know they did. That's evidence, correct?
For it every time.
Yeah, every time.
We're not talking about.
I've been talking about this before it was even known.
No one here has. The rest of us have not like.
I mean, some of us live in reality.
None of us have studied this issue. We can't talk about one thing, so we're going to talk about.
I'll talk about both things.
Okay, great.
Well, we've talked about one thing. They're tied together, though. Listen,
there was at least enough evidence to pass by a grand jury. That's what we know.
Whatever. A grand jury can indict a ham sandwich, right?
Ham sandwich.
That's a
that's something evidence to me.
So we're moving past that.
Well, because this is a moving goalpost show. First, y'all said they had no indictments at all. Now we have indictments, and now it's tied directly to what we're talking about with this topic here.
And that
it's not
fucking nothing. That's what I just said.
But y'all said the same thing before Trump. Like, it's crazy. It's holding you the same standard. Now I'm holding you the same standard.
Again, Gibbs.
And now y'all just not what you're doing
it. Gibbs, you're not going to argue me into doing it.
I'm not arguing with you at all. I'm tired of the point.
We haven't examined the situation. Mm-hmm. I haven't studied it. I don't think maybe he can correct me if I'm wrong there. Corey Ali, you came here to talk about AI data centers. We could talk about that some other.
We all hear about the data centers. This is directly related to the data centers. Is your topic? The topic is the violence. You literally talk about what happens when the system doesn't work. Is that the topic? If I read the topic, it says the system. That's literally.
You guys never fucking stop. It'll come up.
I mean, you literally put in the topic about the violence. That's in the topic.
Yes.
Is that in the topic?
But
Then everything I said's on topic.
Because we don't know anything about that yet. We don't know anything about
Oh,
that.
so it's okay to
don't
speculate
know
based off the
anything
evidence we
about
have
that.
for when it's on the sides you
don't
want,
have
but
any
not when I
evidence.
provide evidence.
No,
That's crazy.
I don't accept that.
Crazy.
We don't
I
have
don't have it.
evidence.
You don't
We
listen.
haven't-
Then I don't
okay.
accept your evidence
Please.
next time you bring your evidence.
Please.
That's
I
dumb.
don't
That's
care.
bad.
I don't
This
care.
is very
You never
bad faith
accept
crime.
anything, right? Other than what
This
your
is very
daddy
bad
tells you.
faith.
So I don't give a fuck about that. Oh no, the threat
Okay.
that
Maybe bad
Gibbs
faith.
is not going to listen to reasoned arguments, right?
I mean, I'm the one who's listening to reason
gonna
arguments.
tell him
I bring
everything,
it. It's
and then
okay.
he's gonna
Daddy.
do that
This is
again.
literally
I
your
don't
own
fucking
argument.
care.
Daddy said it.
I'm
Like,
done
and
with it.
we can look
We're
at the evidence
moving
ourselves.
on.
That's what
We're
presented.
moving on.
I mean, they're tied together. I mean, you literally brought it up in the prompt
Moving on.
about the violence against
I
people.
don't
The system
care.
doesn't work.
Stop
I'm
trying to
talking about the
transform this into
system.
what you want
If
to
I
talk about.
use an
Okay.
AI, run it through a data center to make the argument against the SPLC, will that count technically?
It should, absolutely
Maybe.
should. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. Like, it's crazy though that you don't want to. You're trying to divert when we're sitting here
don't
talking
bring
about
it
these
up.
things.
Don't bring it up
I mean,
again.
it's called
I'll
running.
test
That's
on
okay.
this.
That's fine. What are you gonna do? Take me or no? I mean, like, I don't want to be a
will.
dick.
Yes,
but like,
I
sure,
will.
do it because it's tied to the prompt. You put it.
Okay, all right. Shut the fuck up. Holy shit. Shut the fuck up about this. Leave. Good. Any which way. Now we can have a conversation. Fuck.
Now he'll go to the Raging Tomato panel like the other guy.
I guess. Whatever. Like, I mean, what the fuck? I mean, we haven't prepared to talk about this thing. I don't know anything about it. All right.
Well, I could talk about but he was bringing up Alex Jones and all that stuff. Like,
yeah, we're done with that. Fuck. Any which way.
oh wait, well, actually, are indictments proof?
In and themselves, indictments aren't it's not proof. I would say though, the fact the allegations are pretty harsh, and
no, I don't think anybody disputes that. Yeah, as I agree, that counts for something.
It counts for something.
You agree that does not meet the sufficient burden of proof
to not for legal purposes, no.
Right.
Not to find them guilty of anything.
Right. I think we're all in agreement there then. Well, except for Gibbs. I don't know why. Well, do you think that is an appropriate thing to say, that indictments are proof of anything? I would hope, as you as a lawyer, you would not want to go by that metric.
It's not proof that they're guilty.
Yes, it's proof that maybe there's something suspicious that should be investigated, or an extra set of eyes, or like a jury should take a look at it, but it's not proof of anything. I don't know why you're so reliant on that. But whatever. Onwards and upwards.
I mean, I think it'd be... I know Prime doesn't want to talk about this.
Because I don't want to talk about this.
Okay, never mind then.
All right. Moving on. Thank you. But yeah, so in terms of or looking at things on a community scale, because I think some of the things we were talking. Well, okay. So in terms of the data center backlash, right? Like, I think, looking at it the other way, there has been really an incredibly organized, legal counter push, right? Like, people have been organizing in their communities. They've been getting together, they've been going to these meetings, right? It's united people across political lines here. And I think it makes sense to a certain extent because, first of all, put aside the noise, because I don't think a lot of people. I'm curious if a lot of people understand the noise pollution. And again, that's an AI.
I think there is an element of they just don't know what they're signing up for.
There's that. I think there's but but the thing is, I don't know if that problem is known on a widespread level. But I think so much of the backlash is more that the sales push that they're hearing, right? Especially when we're talking about AI data centers, but I don't think people are making a distinction. The sales push is that, yeah, these things are going to be the engines that take away your job, right? That destroy your communities, destroy your livelihood, right?
Or get your son and daughter and addicted to an AI chatbot or girlfriend or boyfriend.
Yeah, right? And part of that, and this is what we have to have such a nuanced conversation about AI. Part of this is just literally marketing hype. It works in Sam Altman's favor. It works in Amadeo, whatever the
Dario Amodei, yeah.
Dario Amodei, yeah. Thank you. It works in his favor when you say, AI is going to cause some sort of economic apocalypse, right? because that tells investors is like, oh well, I got to be on the winning side. I gotta invest. I gotta put my money into this. This is the big thing. It doesn't matter if if what
It's
they're
the new
saying
Ford
is a good
stock.
thing or a bad thing. Yeah, and like you remember, and like this whole thing, like Mythos, right? Like Claude like releases Mythos things, and it's like, oh, it's just too dangerous for like to escape into the wild. We don't know what's gonna happen. Complete bullshit.
But oops, it
Complete
has
bullshit.
gotten a little bit into the wild. There, there are companies that have gotten
And
Has
people
it?
have actually tested it.
not into the
Sorry.
wild, but like as in, from what I understand, Anthropic gave certain companies approval to use it, and then no surprise, it just disseminated within the companies.
Oh,
Because yeah, that's how it works.
but I can't just go use it though right now, right?
No, but I'm
No,
sure
no, no,
it probably might be a
no.
matter of time, maybe.
Maybe.
But the point is, the hype is like, oh my god, it's just too dangerous. So it's gonna take down, like all it does, it finds some exploits, right? But like people were able to match it with like older AI models, and we've had tools to do those types of exploits for years now, right? Like to find those for years now. But like they're saying this is like, well, if I put this out with an state actor, we'll immediately be able to go into some secure database, right?
be
And cause all
Ultron.
kinds of havoc, right? And also there's hype. I'm not sure if necessarily of Anthropic has said this. This might be something that just happened like through the magic of social media. But people also think like it can actually execute these attacks. It doesn't execute the attacks. It doesn't do any of that, right? But like as soon as the room and Anthropic knew what they were doing when they put this out, right? As soon as you put that out there, well, then the media will take that in uncritically and repeat it, right? And then like go on speculations about it, right? And then in that speculations, people hear about it, and then they like go on social media and talk about it, right? And all along that chain, like the story gets bigger, right? And it gets amplified. And then people are like, okay, well, like, I mean, if they're making a product with just this good, right? I gotta invest. There's no other way. I have to be part of the winning side. Job done.
Yeah. I mean, this is more or less like out of the same when Elon, whatever, 10, 15 years ago, first made the claim that robotaxis are going to be there in a year, like that boosts the stock. It still works to some extent. It's like, and the media will run with it. Obviously, it seems like now, that seems to be running its course, maybe.
He just has to pick the new thing that gets him the attention. It was the
once you make that original
flamethrowers.
bold new claim of like robotaxis right around the corner, you'll be able to push the button and go from New York to LA and just sleep all the way there.
Yep,
right?
the tunnels, and then. Or even with his boring company, right? When he fucking just puts out a flamethrower and he's like sells them for $1,000 a piece, puts out it's like that's advertisement and it's fucking product sales. Like he still made a decent chunk of change off of just one fucking product that he just puts out, and so it's like it also like more than the winning thing, it makes it more attached to our our society. If the belief is that more people are using it than they are, that this AI is like better than it is, that these like right now, I think on TikTok, it's a whole bunch of people like kind of disproving how smart AI is. AI can't even count to 100. Like it just doesn't have the ability, kind of like what you were saying last week, I think it was Prime. It just doesn't understand what you're asking it to do. It knows that like there's a number 1 and then there's 100 and you want it to get from 1 to 100, but it doesn't know that you're asking it to like literally count. And so it's like it is strange. We're getting way too invested in these things.
Yeah,
and
well,
I just don't see the overall benefit. The overall negative is like not only the data centers, but like the people that are using the AI are getting stupider, right? It's not like we're getting any like intelligence benefit to it. Like we are getting dumber. We're basically just we're taking the first result off Google now instead of like doing the research. So it's like I just don't see the real benefit outside of like for the government use for like weaponry.
Yeah, and for coding, almost certainly. I mean, that's
for what?
For coding, from what I understand.
Coding.
Yeah.
Coding. But like, Prime, you were saying that like this push is this thing is going to take your jobs. This is the advertising, and we're laughing at that. But I think what people think when they say like the AIs can take your jobs is they do believe that there's going to be some type of like UBI, or that things are going to be better if we just outsource these workers. Like we're gonna pay, like we're not just gonna give people money for free. This benevolence argument is like very strange to me. Like why we think that that's gonna be the like saving grace of this.
I think people who think like there's going to be a UBI in response to this are the ones who are sure their jobs aren't going to be taken.
Yeah.
That they're replaceable. Don't be so sure, right? Like, I remember as a tech worker, like my coworkers telling me, like, "Oh yeah, don't worry. Like your job is like at least your job is safe from automation," and that was like the first thing that got hit. And like, yeah. So I put that aside. Again, like there's going to be a rejiggering, like a readjustment within the economy. And there are some jobs like I would have given Gibbs credit if he was still here. But about like like artwork, right? Like there were just so many like small tasks that like require a surprisingly high investment. That could just be automated away, right? Like it's not like it bankrupted you to like find a person to make like a thumbnail or something like that, right? Or to just like make some sort of artwork that would go into your like advertisement, like you're running a new campaign, trying to like put something together. It is not going to bankrupt you to try to find someone to do it, but like it's a cost on the line item sheet, right? And if you could just like get rid of that, right? And it's like, again, I've said this before, good enough, right? Good enough.
Well, Apple kind of did. Apple kind of did, right? Like, I don't know how much money. I'm sure it's a lot. How much money it costs to like develop like an emoji for like Apple, right? Like a part of their emoji line. But like now with their Apple AI, people are creating their own emojis using like the bases or the prompts. Like it just generates and creates its own emoji. So like I feel like now Apple doesn't have to create emojis for their like phones anymore. That probably saves them a shit ton of money.
Probably.
I think a few things. The first thing is like whether or not UBI is going to happen. I think it's a distinct possibility, depending on like how much AI actually progresses. We've been seeing that like as GDP has increased and has efficiency has increased over time, which it has. You're seeing that social welfare as a percentage of GDP has been going up dramatically. The military as a percent of GDP has actually been going down compared to social welfare. So the vast majority of new government spending happens to be in things like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, other forms of food stamps, other forms of welfare. So that's been going up. I think that if we were to reach some kind of device that would be maybe not completely post scarcity, but rapidly increase the amount of supply there is for any kinds of goods and services, I don't think it's like unheard of to think that you would see some kind of, at least based on historical trends, you would see some kind of corresponding increase in social welfare, whether that be UBI or whether that just be, makes any of the other programs we have much more generous to the point of, being close to a UBI. The other thing I wanted to say is it feels a little bit, and maybe you guys can help me out here. It feels a little bit that you guys are kind of caught in a little bit of a catch-22. Like you kind of want your cake and you want to eat it too, where you're saying things like, yeah, AI is probably not going to replace everything, but this thing might take your jobs. And, these data centers are being built everywhere, but, the data centers are being built obviously because there's market demand behind them. So like it almost seems like the proof is there. Like the fact that so many market actors are putting money, real money, investing in these data centers is because they see, and whether they be the actual designers or whether they be the investors, they see the potential labor savings there. They see how this can go ahead and take your job. It's projection, like all things are.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody's going to dispute that AI is disruptive to some extent. I will absolutely grant that. To what extent, is the question. Do I think it's
Sure.
and I'm obviously projecting as well or speculating. Like, do I think it's going to be as disruptive as people like are making it out to be? Let's say Gibbs. I'm not on that train. I'm more like in line with like Prime. But like I would use, not that this is like a one-to-one, but like the most recent example that comes to mind is like streaming, where it's like once Netflix got as big as it currently is, like just about every single cable company came up with their own streaming service, and that they now do, like Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, whatever
Peacock.
HBO Max.
Yeah.
You know, there are a whole bunch of, and there was like this huge influx of streaming services, and then I think many of them like either scaled back. I think even Disney themselves now are like, I mean, like, yeah, this is not really
A big
in our
part of that
long-term
was
vision.
the pandemic, though. The black
Yeah,
swan of
well,
it.
exactly, for sure. But even then, Netflix was before the pandemic was like the big player, and like yes, there was a whole bunch of hype around streaming, and like many companies doubled down on it, or like I mean, Disney, literally, and Apple as well. I don't know how profitable Apple TV is, if at all. I expect it's
Prime
actually not.
TV, all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so all that to say is like there are many things that are hyped up. We all know of these examples. Now again, like is AI going to be disruptive? Almost certainly. But I don't think it's going to be as transformative yet, at least not in its current iteration. I can't, it's hard for me to imagine, but I have no problem saying that I'm ignorant of like, but it's hard for me to imagine that large language models are going to be as transformative as people like Gibbs make them out to be. But that might just be a reflection of my
Well, it's not
ignorance
just-
on
it's
it.
There
not
needs to
just
be a
Gibbs.
distinction. There needs to be a
It's not-
distinction that, like, when people are talking about large language models or like the generative AI or whatever it is.
I think we're already seeing it sort of plateau to my estimation, but again, I'm not an expert. I think there's going to be some more incremental improvements. But I think there are some clear,
There definitely seems
again,
to be a plateauing.
I think there's some clear limitations built into LLMs that it's going to be maxed out at some point.
Okay,
And
but
also to use another example, I think this is my speculation again, is just the overall trend in tech overall of using social media, using dating apps, of all of these things at the time were marketed as transformative. Okay, dating apps going to transform the dating market. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, this is going to lead to this beautiful connected world. We're all going to be singing Kumbaya. That clearly did not happen. And now I think there's this clear backlash, both on dating apps. People I think largely are now, negative towards dating apps. I think the tide is turning on social media. I think something is going to happen, again, speculating, as in a lot of things are going to be implemented, as in, let's say, even using, for example, lawyers, okay? As in, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of concerted attempt to have lawyers be replaced by AI. And they're going to probably find out that's not going to work out the way they think it's going to work out. And then they're going to have to dial back or scale back. But that is just my speculation on my part.
I mean, look, I can see paralegals and definitely legal assistants getting replaced by AI. I've used AI models and basically run, because most of what paralegal stuff is just research and drafting. And the shit that AI can draft for me would make it sufficiently time effective for me just to, if I were to start my own firm, just not use a paralegal. So, I mean, that's already, in my estimation, as somebody with a license in the field, in my estimation, if I was to do this, I wouldn't hire a paralegal. So that's one job potentially already gone.
But that's not replacing. Is that replacing a full lawyer in your capacity?
Yeah, you're right. Like I would agree. Like there's certain that it might not replace everybody, but when you just said, I think you're right. When you say the question is how disruptive, it's not about whether or not it's disruptive. It's about how disruptive it's going to be. I don't think Gibbs is. When you say you are more aligned with Prime than you are with Gibbs, I think when you look at the amount of money that's being put into this, it's not just Gibbs that's thinking this. It's also massive corporations, entire governments, the U.S. government, the Chinese government, the Russian government, all the top players are all putting in tremendous amounts of investment into this. There have been bubbles before. There was the .com crash. There have been bubbles before, and it's always possible that this could be something of a bubble. But based on how every government actor appears to be treating this, based on the improvement that I've seen in such a short period of time, to the point now where, like I said, if I was to start a firm on my own, I wouldn't need a paralegal. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm already seeing this where those jobs are becoming more and more difficult to get.
I think have you had the experience, and this might just be unique to me, of there are definitely some instances where AI is doing something really dramatic and super cool and let's say intelligent, but then every once in a while, but then 10% of the time it's doing something so stupid that is
sure.
Not even my 5-year-old.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But again, let's imagine. So a traditional law firm is going to have a super small boutique practice is going to have at least 3 people. It's going to have the lawyer, the paralegal, and the legal assistant, right? And the legal assistant can normally also be the receptionist. And so you have these 3 people. Now, the paralegal is going to make some mistakes occasionally that the lawyer is going to catch. And the lawyer might also make mistakes that the paralegal is going to catch. So I would agree that now at least having some human on the chain is going to be important. But what's going to be more time effective for me? Managing a human being or catching an AI when it makes that 10% of mistakes just by being thorough and reading over the documentation?
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about mistakes.
Because I'm going to be doing that when the paralegal makes it anyway. But I'm also going to pay for health insurance and the potential if they sue me for some kind of employment claim. There's all sorts of liabilities when it comes to a human employee that the AI just isn't going to have.
No, I don't disagree with anything. I'm more speaking to like the actual nature of the mistakes. I have no problem conceding that probably an AI compared to a paralegal is going to make less mistakes. But let's say that every once in a while, the mistakes that an AI makes is just something totally different.
Sure.
Like just like so dramatically stupid.
Which might make it easier for me to catch.
Yeah, well, exactly. But like that's where it's like, I mean, we see this now with let's say again Tesla's robo taxis. It's like yes, 90% of the time it seems to be like overall just fine, but every once in a while it just like rams into a tree type of thing.
Sure,
like, for no reason whatsoever.
No, I get it. But again, when we're looking at this in the aggregate, every once in a while human beings run into a tree, and maybe it's not because like they're just like, oh my god, the fucking logic doesn't make any sense, but maybe it's because they're suicidal, or maybe it's because they're drunk, or maybe it's because they have a seizure, or a whole bunch of other shit that's really equally as unpredictable. So I mean, again, I understand the criticisms, that's all fair, and I've said this a million times, I hope you're right, because the idea of human beings becoming obsolete is really scary. Like what's this all really been for? Just so we can develop our replacement and then die off? Did we crawl from pond scum to do this?
You can now barbecue in your backyard 24/7, 7 days a week, 365.
Yeah. well, sure. That's all fine and dandy. If we could actually like have some community, but here I'm gonna be fucking up tonight, probably scrolling through dumb fucking reels for 2 hours, like every other American.
Yeah. Well, exactly. To my point of like, well, do you like that?
But I can't stop.
Exactly.
I don't know what to tell you. Like yeah. Well, I don't like it in like the abstract sense, but like in the moment, I'm just like I find myself doing it, and I'm like, But
did this make you favorable towards whatever Meta or whatever social media platform that you're using?
Again, not in the abstract, but from a market sense. Absolutely. Like I am a market participant. I'm a market buyer. At the end of the day, even if I don't like the idea of artists going out of business, I'm going to use Grok to make my images.
I don't think you purchase anything for Instagram. I assume not, but I could be wrong.
Well, no, but they run ads. They run ads and they make money off me watching ads. So I am a product. I am a customer in some sense. And so this is how they're making money off me. When I use Suno to make a song, when I use Grok to generate an image, it's only a matter of time before. I'm pretty sure some AI models, like they're kind of playing around with inserting ads into the responses.
Yeah, I think ChatGPT is doing that.
Yeah, so I mean, the monetization is there. At some point, it's gonna. But I don't know. I hope you're right, Corey. I'm not as optimistic as you when it comes to AI being limited.
I don't know that I'm, let's say, optimistic for the future, but I am optimistic in the sense that I'm obviously speculating that there will be LMs will be maxed out, I think sooner rather than later. And we're going to see the limitations. Just like I'm pretty sure Elon is finding out that the technology he invested in with just cameras and a processor is being maxed out. And there's only so much you can squeeze out before he needs to pivot to what Waymo is doing.
Okay. And so we have this, and we have incredibly powerful market forces at play. And I'm looking at the example. I mean, the example that was given in the prompt of like one of the examples, I guess, of violence was Sam Altman suffering a firebombing attack. In no way whatsoever do I think this is going to stop or even so slightly slow the pace of AI development. I think this has been wholly ineffective.
If anything, I can make the argument it probably like makes him angry and fuels him more.
Probably. It probably does. And the thing is, like, I would want to say, well, maybe like I can see some kind of non-violent safeguard approach, perhaps being effective when it comes to dealing with AI, but nothing's gonna stop it. There's too.
I don't think anything's gonna stop it, and I don't think anything is gonna stop it being built wherever it gets built. Right? Like, I think there's too much money behind it. I think there's too much belief and support behind it through like the government, and then the attack versus like against Sam Altman right now didn't do anything. It's just the attacks are gonna ramp up until something does happen, whether it becomes like some authoritarian state where you fucking tell these people, well, fuck off, you're gonna have to deal with these data centers, you're gonna have to deal with these people taking over your life, or there's gonna be some type of change where they do kind of maybe pull back or slow down or reframe like what AI means like to this country or for this country. But I don't think like, do you think the attacks are gonna stop, or do you think that they're gonna lessen at all? If right now the idea is you think the attacks lessen as times go on?
Yeah.
Okay, so like I don't want to tie it into like the president or whatever, but like we've seen more attacks on the president now, or attempts now, I think, ever. Right? Like at least of seeing them like out in the open. Like there were 3 that we can like we have on fucking tape.
Apparently they're all hoaxes. That's what I hear on
There's
Twitter.
a lot.
I mean, it's starting to feel, well, I think it's starting to feel like that when it's like, once again, 3 within the past like year.
It's on
year
Twitter,
and a half,
must be
2
true.
years.
So they're all hoaxes and staged.
It's not that they are,
All
but
to
like
justify the ballroom.
Yeah, I mean, but like,
Corey, you would agree that like the party of science and opposed to misinformation. I've been seeing a lot of shit about that on Twitter too. Okay, and Facebook of just like, all this is a myth. It's a hoax to justify the ballroom.
I agree.
Jesus,
they're stupid.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's starting to feel like that because
especially
at a certain point,
the far left, they are delusional, just as delusional as whatever MAGA cultists.
I mean, it's delusion, but also it does feel weird that when you've seen 3 attempts within the past year and a half, it seems like political violence is ramping up, not ramping down. It seems like we're hearing more and more about people like being radicalized, becoming radicalized, or like the radicalizers, right? We're hearing more about stochastic terrorism. We're hearing more about like certain people needing to like remove their voices. People are being banned from going to certain countries, so on and so forth. I mean, it doesn't seem like the violence is ramping down.
Let me change what I'm
that
saying.
It will.
Yeah, let me slightly alter it. I think that as people get more used to it, as time goes on, the violence will go down. But there is absolutely the possibility that if there's some kind of like moment where there's a massive spike in adoption, and thus some kind of corresponding massive spike in unemployment, where it like creates some kind of destabilization, you would probably see a spike in violence there. I would agree with that. I just think that, again, like as is the case with almost all industries, like you probably had more like the Catholic Church was opposed to light bulbs back when they first came out. They were, we got to ban the light bulbs because
it's going to be a population issue, isn't it? Though, like we have way more people now than like during the Industrial Revolution, and I think that's going to account. If you have more people that are like feeling disenfranchised or whatever, like just more numbers is going to react to more violence. And
but we also have a lot of factors that would make it, I think, make our population less violent. The first thing that would make it less violent is our population is generally older than the population that existed at the outset of the Industrial Revolution. Yeah, definitely so. Overall ages are going up in the developing world because, well, even in the developing world over time, because we're having less kids and people are living longer. And older people just overwhelmingly are less likely to commit violent crime or engage in violence than younger people. So that's the first thing. There's going to be less heavy metal exposure now than there was at the onset of the Industrial Revolution, which is lead is actually
plastic exposure now.
Yeah, we have plastic exposure, which can like affect fertility, but lead in particular is a neurotoxin that increases aggression and increases violent impulses. So that's one of the main things you see in lead poisoning. And so lower overall exposure to lead has been one of the things that criminologists associate with the drop in crime rate. You have decreasing poverty, especially compared to the onset of the Industrial Revolution, which again is associated with lower crime. There's all sorts of things that I think are at play right now that explain why we have a lower crime rate, and we likely will continue to see it drop.
Crime rate
and our population is declining.
Right?
Well, and our population is declining too. So we're just going to have fewer and fewer people.
But are the crime rate and political violence like the same thing? I feel like I understand that like political violence is a crime, right? Like if you're going to do a shooting, but I feel like they're different things. They're different than like stealing or like,
Sure. There's going to be some difference. I agree. And
I think political violence is going up.
I guess polarization is definitely going up. And I guess you could make the argument that like the polarization could counteract the the other factors that may reduce violence, that's possible.
Because I think it's
I-
different. Because like, because what I was saying about like the Luigi Mangione or even like the Trump shooter yesterday, like these guys weren't like broke, right? They weren't poor. They weren't like just some schizo people. They were like pretty well off. I mean, the guy at the Trump shooting was a professor, right? Like he was pretty revered. So I mean, it's not like just these crazy people, right? It's people that feel like they're working within a system. They tried to work within a system and the system has let them down in one way, shape, or another. Like in accordance to the guy yesterday, it's like, hey, he feels like he believes that the country is being run by like pedophiles in the Epstein class, so on and so forth. So like in their minds, this is like a just act because there is no other way. Like Luigi Mangione goes and attacks the CEO of the insurance company that denies his mother's health care, whatever it is. So it's not like these like the factors that you're talking about don't really seem to come into play, because when it comes to political violence, it seems like there's more virtue, right? These people feel virtuous. These people feel like they're vigilantes, right? They feel just in their actions. And I think it's a little bit different. I think we're going to see a ramp up of that type of like violence. I don't see that coming down. I don't see that coming down with like, especially with like billionaires and CEOs, especially when it comes to like data centers, right? If the idea is that like these billionaires are coming in and they're affecting communities, right? They're affecting communities that can't really enact any change, and now they can't even like leave, right? Because they can't sell their house, their values drop. Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot more of like vigilantes. I think that you're creating more of these people. I don't think it's the same thing as crime.
Well, I think we also have to factor in or be mindful that we also, I think, by my estimation, live in a fairly unique environment with social media that, like, I think is affecting things. Now, whether that leads to, whether that's the actual true driver of polarization, may be difficult to say. I think it's obviously a factor.
And we're in America with guns, hella guns. So like these,
yes,
we are armed people with social media and like these algorithms that are, like to even to your point, right? You don't love doom scrolling, but you still fucking do, and you
can't help themselves.
Yeah, maybe you're smarter than the like average person that's gonna snap, but like a lot of people aren't, right? A lot of people are just doom scrolling and they're succumbing to all this bullshit. I don't see less political violence in the future, unfortunately.
And then, not that this justifies it, okay, but like also, I don't think Sam Altman does himself any favors by the way he talks. I don't know if if anybody watches any interviews of him, but when he responds with like, when people, let's say, criticize all the energy consumption of data centers, and he responds, well, have you seen how much energy it takes to like raise a child? People don't really respond.
Did he say that?
Yes.
Yeah, hold on. He did say that. So I was just about to like criticize Sam, but I thought that statement was not nearly as bad people like made that one out to be, right? Like, so like he was just saying
that's why I use that as there's many examples. I think I don't know what's going on in his brain when he says what he says.
No,
but like,
again, that's why I'm saying I was just about to criticize him, because I think like overall he's a target-rich environment. But I'm saying that particular statement I thought was like he was just saying that like, yeah, it takes a lot to train these things, but like if it, and this is a big if, right? Like if it is a useful tool, right, that can be like extremely productive, right? The amount of time that it takes to train up a new model, right? The energy it does for that, like compared to like, what it takes to raise human beings, right? Yeah, it like put that into scale, right? And like this is like something that would be multiplied, right? Like, so like it's not just one person who gets to use it. Like only like my sphere of influence is only so large, right? But like would this be a much larger sphere of influence? I don't think it was that bad.
No,
there's a massive freak.
I agree that he's making a logical argument, but
like,
I don't think you can blame anybody for like misinterpreting. Like,
most people don't hear that.
One would hope or think that a CEO at that level would be mindful of like the statements that he makes, and how you like when you're speaking to, I don't know, millions or billions of people, saying a statement like that is going to be filtered and maybe not interpreted the most greatest light.
Who is the one that had to like be like kind of verbally forced into agreeing that humanity matters? Was that also Sam Altman, or was it somebody else?
Wouldn't surprise me,
because there was some interview with like
all
a CEO
of them are on that same. All of them are on that kind of same trend.
I'll look into. I'll see if I can find who it was, because I remember there was some AI CEO where they were doing an interview and they had to be like goaded, had to be asked multiple times or whatever.
I guess there are some redeeming qualities about humans.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And sure, like I'm not triggered by that, but would I necessarily blame, or let's say I think it's understandable that someone would be triggered by that.
A country
so-
of 300 million and they're armed. Yeah, someone's going to be triggered. At least once again, a 1%, 0.5%, and that's still a lot of fucking people.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, again, I'm not saying it justifies it, but like the way Sam Altman talks and pretty much how most of these tech people talk, like they don't do themselves any favors.
The expectation is there. Unfortunately, it's like, what do you expect to happen? Like, yeah. Go ahead, go ahead, Lecter.
Ironically, I use AI to find it, but I did.
Yeah.
In June 2025, during an interview with New York Times, Peter Thiel was asked whether he'd prefer the human race to endure into the future. He responded with notable hesitation. Well, I don't know. I would. And then he was asked again, should the human race survive? And then he said, yes.
I mean, you know, sure.
I mean, Peter Thiel is something else.
When these are the interviews, when these are the people, right? When this is the character of the people who are running,
and these are propped up as geniuses,
right?
Like you know,
the brightest. Probably is a genius.
They're propped up, right? I mean, yeah, they're propped up, right? They're making all this money, and then it feels like they're making money off the backs of these people. It's starting to feel a little bit more justified when someone goes and makes an attack. When this guy's barely like, should humanity survive? I don't fucking know. Maybe. It's like, all right, well, maybe the person who is like attacking this person, it does feel some type of justification. If you feel like you're saving,
of course they feel that way.
Yeah, I know that's what I'm saying. But like that justification that they're giving, it's like it's starting to make more sense, right? Like the threshold between that person being crazy and that person being sane that line isn't so thick anymore.
I don't know. I think that it is still decently thick. I think that the solution there is to mock that person, is to laugh at that person, when
Martin Shkreli or Michael Shkreli, whatever the fuck that guy was, who bought the medication, right? This was how long ago?
No,
like this was
a while ago now.
Yeah. Could you imagine if he did that today? There's a huge shift between like him being able to do that, and he was like the fucking douchebag and the kind of right. But if he did that today, I think the same demeanor, he's not walking around outside as comfortable,
right? But the demeanor, like, I think himself, right? But the demeanor, I think, is what led to like certain like congressional action. And by the way, when it came to Martin Shkreli, his demeanor is literally like what sunk him, because what he did really wasn't so out of the ordinary. And in fact, he was like a little bit more humanitarian with some of the things he did. Like, so he was notorious for raising the price of Daraprim like 14,000%. Yeah. But he owned the patent for it, and anybody who couldn't afford it could write to him, and he would send it to them for free. So he was literally using it as like an.
But less people know that, and I'm saying that.
Well, he advertised that.
Yeah,
so.
Sure, but I'm saying still less people know that of him, right? Like if you speak on Martin Shkreli, most people are gonna be like, "Oh, he's the guy who's the douchebag who killed whatever."
Douchebag who raised it, yeah.
But I'm saying like if we're in terms of like one, people feeling justified, and two, people kind of like more or less agreeing with it, right? Something happens to him, 10 years ago, whatever, however long it was. People are more outraged. Like, no, you can't do that, even though he's a big douchebag. You do that today, like same action, same guy does the same things. You assassinate him, people are like, you're getting a Luigi times like 100.
Yeah, the Luigi thing is pretty upsetting. Yeah, it's
upsetting, but like also like that. You do need to understand why more people are okay with it. Right? I think it's a big shift. It is a bad shift, but like it's not like these CEOs or these millionaires or billionaires or whatever powers that may be are making themselves like look any better. They're not doing themselves any favors.
I think that I mean the point about political polarization, I think, is there are some stats that I think show that is getting worse, and it's getting worse in particular ways that are pretty scary. So, you know, I think that perhaps that would outweigh some of the other factors happening that you would expect would lead to lower crime. When it comes to this particular kind of crime, which is like targeted political violence, which is unfortunate. I think there was like a new YouGov study, and I'll just make this partisan. I mean, Gibbs isn't here to do it, so the new it's not too new. It happened after the Charlie Kirk thing. I think it's like under 49 Actually, I reposted something about it. It's like over 49 or under the age of 49. Okay, under the age of 49, 22%, I want to say, of people, of Democrats. What is that? Okay, 22% of liberals under 44 say it's okay to feel happy when a political opponent dies, compared to just 6% of conservatives their age. When you look, I've seen the graph on this. It's actually inverted a little bit when it comes to age and political preference. So older conservatives are more okay with political violence than younger conservatives, but younger liberals are much more okay with political violence than older liberals. So there's like a greater divergence happening with time.
That makes a little sense, though. I feel like the conservatives are feeling like it happens to them more often, so then maybe they're not as okay with it, right? Versus the liberals who probably don't see it happen to them as often, so maybe they're a little bit more okay with it.
That's a good hypothesis, and I thought maybe that had something to do with it too. But this trend holds. This trend held even when you had Democrats targeted. So there was 2 Democrat lawmakers in Minnesota that were targeted by Melissa Hortman and somebody else. I apologize, I can't remember their name. They were local level state politicians, and they were murdered by a political actor. So these were Democrats that were murdered by a political actor. And there was a poll from YouGov taken immediately after this, and even on this poll, the trend held. So even after Democrats are murdered, Democrats are still more okay with celebrating the murder of a political opponent than Republicans are. And then this was also pronounced, of course, following Charlie Kirk. And I don't know. I feel like I see it more on Twitter, but that's not super scientific, so I usually just rely on that YouGov study instead. But yeah, no. This last with Trump with the dinner, the correspondence dinner. I mean, Corey's right when he brings up the amount of people that are just saying it's fake, which is just crazy. I'm seeing a lot of that, like more so than I've ever seen it before, which is very fucking weird. I don't know why. But I'm also just seeing people like there was I don't know, have you guys seen it? There's a brewery owner in the state of Wisconsin where if Trump dies, he's going to give out free beer.
I've not heard that. Doesn't surprise me, but
yeah, it's become national news at this point.
Okay.
But he made a pretty controversial post where basically he sort of insinuated that like either this is his exact close, not exact words, but kind of roughly. Either a member of the resistance needs to work on their aim, or this was like a plot in order to get Trump his ballroom. Either way, we're looking forward to Free Beer Day. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like this, I feel like this rhetoric was not around 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, people are way more amped up. There's way more shit to be like furious about, whether it be like a lot of people January 6th, or like on the right, like the stolen election, quote unquote, or the Epstein files. So people are a little bit more irritated. We have way too much information as just like a people. But like, are you really surprised that people think this is a hoax? I'm not like that. Isn't really that surprising to me. It's starting to feel fucking hoaxy. Like the guy just rushed in the guy got a hotel room, rushed in to a correspondence dinner just like off the strength of a run, right? He didn't have to do very fucking much, right? Like, I'm not saying it is a hoax, but like I'm starting not to be able to blame people for feeling like what do you mean? What do you mean the guy just ran up to the president with a shotgun?
He didn't run up to the president.
But you know what I mean.
He was stopped before he could get there. Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Maybe there's evidence that would convince me. But I haven't seen it. Like,
well, he hasn't been found guilty yet. Technically.
That too. No. But to be clear, like what I'm saying, evidence. For right, like I'm asking for evidence that this was necessarily a hoax rather than rather the actor, the person.
Pretty clearly, there's no evidence it was a hoax. Yeah,
no,
yeah, obviously. Exactly. Like because
like the thing that people seem to be attributing to a hoax situation. One, like the lack of security. Well, the Secret Service has literally for like a decade or more, right, since the Obama administration, been constantly criticized for like a lack of professionalism and a lack of ability, right?
Oh,
And
okay.
this and in the second Trump term, this is at its apex, right? So, and then a lot of the same people who were in charge when the Butler shooting happened are still in charge now. Like some of those people got promoted, like literally got promoted.
Yeah.
And then others were let go. So
Well,
it's a
I'm
mix.
just saying, yeah.
But
I'm just-
hold on, I'm just not done.
Yeah.
But like, and then there's like of like little things people are talking about. Like, isn't it weird that this thing happened, right? Without like understanding, like it's chaos in that moment. Weird shit happens all the time, right? Like I don't immediately attribute it to necessarily like some sort of planning, right? Everything about this so far, again, I reserve the right to change my mind, right? Everything about this so far smells like, yeah, like this individual, he showed up to the hotel. He showed up a day before. He took a train ride. He walked to guns. He like sent a message to his family. Like, I'm surprised the security is so lax here, right? And he got into the room and just like showed up. He was a hotel guest, right? He showed up. He jumped in. He just took a runner, right? Like, which anyone can do, right? Like that can happen in so many security settings, right? Especially if they're not guns trained at you.
Ran like fucking
at the
Naruto.
time, right?
It was crazy.
Yeah,
He was
just,
fucking fast.
past there, and like that, like the space was clear, right? It'd be like this didn't happen when there were like a bunch of people waiting in line. There was like everyone was already inside, right? And so the guards were like kind of relaxed. You can blame them for that, right? But then like this guy just like guns it, and there's still even then there's still several layers of security, right? He doesn't, as far as I understand, he doesn't get into the ballroom. They stop him way before him, they tackle him, right? And they handle it. Now again. I think it's fair to say this is a security failure, but that this is necessarily a hoax, that this was a plan or a false flag. I'm not prepared to do that.
No, it's neither am I. I'm just saying, like, this idea that it's like crazy. I understand the conspiracy theorists on Twitter overnight have come up with a fucking crazy one, man. This one dude's random Twitter, this Henry Marvel's Twitter, who posted this guy's name with the guy with the picture above that looks like the fucking Trump triumph photo. It's a whole fucking thing that they were able to do over 24 hours, which was fucking nuts. But more so, it's I think this idea that people, especially right now, are like there's definitely a group of people who have been watching Trump do this king thing. Like it started with the Trump forever meme that he posted like in his first term, Trump 2024, Trump 2028, Trump 2032, and it kept going and going and going and going. It's this idea that people do think that Trump is trying to take over this government in like a way that like will make him some sort of king, and he's mentioned like kingship before. So when they see like 3 attacks, right, when they see like a war is being started and he's being attacked and he's building this ballroom, and there's a lot of it seems like now there's more justification for like the way he wants to act. I think the conspiracy is less about like this specific attack and like the ballroom, and the grander conspiracy of like this guy's trying to be king one way or another. And if he's this president who's been attacked overwhelmingly, right, there's been more assassinations on him than anyone else. He's accomplishing all these like great things, like and according to like him and his what they push, right? Like he's doing he's stopping Iran from getting the nuclear, so on and so forth. There's the argument like that this guy wants to be king, or he wants to stay in power, or maybe get the 3rd term and fuck over like whatever form of democracy we have. And I think that's more of the conspiracy that it lends to. It does,
and it's a dumb one. I'm not saying that you're pushing this, of course, right? You're just trying to describe this to us. But like it's a dumb one, right? Like the more straightforward thing is that this has been the most disruptive and norms destroying president that we've ever seen. That this presidency, like you have the ability to
it's had the most negative media attention compared to any other.
And for good fucking reason. I would say. I would say
like
that,
you realize that data doesn't say anything, right? As in, like, not that I'm making this comparison, but you can say the same thing of like, again, pick whatever bad leader you want.
Hitler, yeah.
Yeah, like is that testament to what is that good data to use? Again, Of
No, I
like
think
this is biased towards Hitler.
No, I think it is. Hold on. If we're looking at why people are reacting a certain way, the common person who honestly probably couldn't tell you any real problem they have with the ballroom. It's a
I'm
White
not complaining
House.
about
It is
Not
gaudy
me.
No,
as fuck.
it's so
I have a problem with it.
I don't
But
see.
go.
Okay, maybe you have some kind of nuanced problem with it. This is one of a couple White House redos. There's, this is going to add a whole bunch of extra space. It's going to add a security complex. It's going
It
to add a
looks so
place for world
bad.
leaders to meet.
It's gonna look
I understand you think it looks bad. I think it
the
looks
vibes,
fine.
the aesthetics are gone. The
Yeah,
White House is gonna look like shit. I'm
I
sorry.
think I think it looks fine. I don't think that it looking bad is going to be the real reason why people are trying to stop it. Because
No.
and remember, some of these conspiracy theories like really fundamentally don't make sense because the stay on the ballroom is actually there's an injunction against it. So the construction of the ballroom can continue at least until July. And it's probably not going to stop because, probably not. We'll see, I guess. But certainly this wouldn't make it any more or less likely for the lawsuit to be successful or not successful. Yet, I think that you have a lot of people who are genuinely convinced that, well, Trump manufactured a hoax in which somebody was shot in order to get his ballroom past some kind of barrier that they imagine. And for these people, I think a very logical explanation is that they're watching this media that is overwhelmingly negative towards Trump. Now you can argue, well, some of that media is justifiably against Trump because of XYZ dumb things that he said or XYZ things that he's done. But when I've done this multiple times, when I compare Trump to prior presidents, I don't think he's actually as crazy as Prime is insinuating. You saw the biggest drop in trust in the president.
Give me an example of a president that says they're going to destroy civilization.
Yeah, again, if we're talking about that statement, I can't think of any other.
Is there any equivalent whatsoever?
I think
or
that in
him,
terms of
or him being Jesus.
Yeah, in terms of again,
or attacking the
things, actions,
or saying Allahu Akbar mockingly.
Yes,
the praise be Allah.
That was funny.
Correct,
that was funny.
Corey.
Okay, do you think? Well,
some of it's funny. Some of it's funny.
Yeah.
I agree with you. A lot of it's potentially divisive. But again, when you look at the objective metrics of, I think, just shit bad that's done, I think George W. Bush takes the cake. When you look at loss in public trust in the administration and presidents, George W. Bush takes the cake, much more so than Donald Trump. And so, no, I'm not convinced that like the overwhelming shift in media negativity towards Trump as compared to basically any other prior president.
Well, there was first of all, like with George W. Bush, right? Like understand there was a complete media environment back then, right? We don't have social media to have all different narratives. There was a lot of rah in the media for the wars at the time.
I think social media is the problem, not Trump.
So I don't know about that part. But like I think if social media had existed back then, you'd have seen a lot of the same thing. And people were, like, to be clear, right, were massively protesting Bush, right, and calling him Hitler and doing all that, right? Like that happened back then as well. There was a massive push, but you don't. The
media was not as against him.
I didn't say that, hon. I just said the opposite of that. Yeah, the media, of course, the media is for imperialism. The media loves wars constantly. They literally play. There was some old reporter. I forget what his name was, right? But he was a big NBC guy, and he talked about like, and this is like infamous. He's like, like it's like I think the first night of the bombings of Baghdad, right? And you see like the missiles, the Tomahawks or whatever the fuck, right, firing from the warships, right? And he talks about like. He waxes poetically about how beautiful they are, seeing these streaming off into the night sky, Jesus. Right? When on the other end of it, people were fucking dying, right? Like civilians were dying, and this guy does it. But like that's a thing that you can just say in media because they're all for imperialism. They're all for the wars constantly. They cheerlead them all the time. So once again, yes, they weren't against them in the same way, right? And the way that I think the media has covered up a lot of the anger, the mainstream media, in dealing with the Iran war. Like it's not that
there are more. I think the mainstream media has been shamed into having a bit more diversity of voices because like your audience like can see, right, like they have other news sources and they're like, why you guys aren't talking about these? So it's not quite exactly the same, but like there's a stark difference. That media environment actually does matter. And like Trump has taken actual actions. Like he's like wrecked the economy. Like, can you at least give me that? He's
No,
wrecking the
wrecked the
okay.
economy.
Yeah, hold on. The tariffs. Who's
Yeah.
if
They weren't good. They didn't wreck the economy.
no, hold on. The tariffs are still an ongoing a problem, and they're taking off points from our economic growth, right? And then there's this Iran war, completely a self-inflicted wound, where he goes in and like he's causing a worldwide global catastrophe, like right this second. And then there's the leaving or the demolishing of the NATO alliance, right? Piece by piece, there he's trying to destroy this thing. Now, Republicans of a previous generation, okay, and now I won't include you. I won't like say what your opinions on this are, right? But Republicans of the previous generation really like NATO because NATO would back them for the
NATO's
wars they wanted to do, right? Yeah. Because NATO's imperialists. And previous Republicans are fine. Not even necessarily like a neocon, but you're like Republicans liked the idea of the U.S. being in charge of the world, having this leadership role.
Sure.
Where like Trump has continuously to leave. Europe is rearming itself in the way that it wasn't before, and then all that give them reasons to eject the U.S. right at some point from their territories, right? The fucking Middle East countries are thinking about ejecting U.S. bases from their territories. Now, as a person on the left who wants to shrink the America's ability to wage war, this works for me. Once again, like I keep saying, thank you, Donald Trump. But like for the goals of U.S. nationalists and people, I think many people who come from your similar persuasion, right? This seems like a disaster, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think that when you talk about wrecking the economy, so we can talk about things that are like things that Trump has done that are good for economic growth and bad for economic growth. I think that the NATO example is not the best example. Forcing Europe to contribute more to the security umbrella and then putting less of that burden on us and our taxpayers. I don't think it's
bad
sure.
thing for
Right. But just addressing the economy, I think that's
yeah.
I don't think that's going to actually overall in the long run be negative for our economy. I think it's probably going to reorient segments of our economy away from the defense industry and more towards more civilian applications, which overall, as somebody who's kind of critical of the defense industry and the military industrial complex, I think that is a good thing. When it comes to the tariffs and the Iran war, I think it's pretty inarguable that those were negative for the economy, but the tariffs were struck down. That's likely going to be a temporary blip. The Iran situation.
No, there's still tariffs in place. Like he put
right. Yes, he moved to a different presidential authority in order to justify those tariffs. That separate presidential authority is temporary, so he has to go in front of Congress. I forget how many days he has left, but he has to go in front of Congress in order to justify continuing those tariffs, and he probably won't be able to do it.
Aren't they also getting paid? The company's being paid
potentially.
Tariffs?
Yeah, potentially.
I thought that was happening.
Potentially. I don't know to the extent it's happening, so I can't really speak on that. Assuming that it does happen in totality, I mean, this is going to be, we never really dealt with that. I mean, that's going to be, I guess, a boon in the economy in one way, in which this is pretty much going to be a massive stimulus on corporations. It's going to be a negative in another way because it's going to
people are going to go crazy.
Yeah, the actual effect in the economy, I don't know what actual effect it's going to have in the economy though. When it comes to the Iran war, I agree that this has also been bad, but again, and I've been on this very panel arguing against the Iran war. We got a ceasefire in effect still. Stocks have mostly rebounded since that ceasefire came into play. There's optimism that neither side is going to want to return to a hot war. It could happen. That would be bad. But when we're talking, for my mind, wrecking the economy, all of that would have to be some kind of significant drop. And then you would also have to put that against the stuff that Trump has passed like the Big Beautiful Bill, which is going to have a positive effect on the economy, at least in terms of growth and reducing overall taxation. So
So
yeah, I don't agree that he's wrecked the economy.
yeah. So I massively disagree. Right. So uh the Iran war dovetails with the tariffs, right? And the threats to Greenland and to Canada, for that matter, right?
We should have had
And though
Greenland.
you and
We should have
I,
it now.
well, I mean, you and I agree that like Canada should be annexed, right? Without a doubt,
Of,
right?
I
Like
mean, of
that's like not
course.
enough
No.
question,
Look,
right?
we need that
But
strategic maple fucking
No,
syrup
no,
reserve.
hands off our maple
Man,
syrup.
We need the
No.
reserve. We
We're
need
not
the
getting
fucking
that reserve.
reserve.
I'm not gonna
That-
lie,
So-
just off the strength
I
of
will lace
poutine
up.
alone. Off the
So
strength
what-
of poutine alone.
once again,
Eddie.
I say thank you, Donald Trump. But like this all comes within a narrative, right? Like the global economy is reorienting itself away from the United States. They're thinking of how can we avoid this problem, right? Like even something as simple as I'm going to go more on that in a second, right? But like just a tangent, just a little bit, right? Even as simple as like what happened with like ICE, right? And with how people were being treated like foreign travelers come to this country, not immigrants, not talking about immigrants, right? People coming to this country being searched, being harassed by people like coming into like their fucking conferences and shit, right? And then you had like you had guidance from other countries saying like, well, you got to protect your data, right? Because you don't want to get searched at the border when you arrive in the United States, right? And then like them going through your computer. That's the thing that happened. Beyond that, there was there's the Doge fiasco that happened, right? Where grants were denied, right? Were denied and destroyed from like scientific research, right? By a fucking 22-year-old, right? Who was sitting. This is amazing, right? He was one of the Doge boys. He came in, I think, either to the NSF or the other one, or the NIH, who provides grants, right? And they were just the board there was like just like discussing these grants that had been approved, that had scientific reasoning behind them, and this guy, who I barely paid attention, was like no, yes, no, whatever, and then those were the reasons why those grants were denied. There's been a shrinking of the scientific community and an exodus, right? Other countries have been poaching them this entire time. Now that won't show up in the economic numbers immediately. That part's true. That'll happen years from now. The brain drain that this man has caused. And this was repeated within like the CDC. So that happened. But again, in terms of like how like the globe views us, right? They've understood, which I've always been saying. Again, thank you, Donald Trump. The United States is not trustworthy. The United States is not a partner that you can rely on. The United States breaking its word, right? Like the people who actually got fucked by those terrorists the most was our allies who actually came and tried to negotiate with us in good faith. Because they tried to renegotiate immediately, and were stuck at some like higher agreed rate. But for all the ones who didn't negotiate, who just like ignored them, right? Their rates got reset. Basically, right? So they didn't come up with, so what I'm saying is they didn't come up with a new agreement, right? Let's say like the new agreement is like 20%, just using imaginary numbers here, right? And like the base rate was before 15%. Well, now if the original tariffs got destroyed and they were set to like 10%, the ones who didn't negotiate, right? They are better off. You understand what I'm saying? Because they didn't even bother, and the ones who came, right? Japan was one of the ones who showed up. UK were the ones who showed up. They're the ones who got the most screwed by all this. And so once again, like the world is just trust us less than they did before. And before they thought, well, Trump is an anomaly, right? Well, sure, like it happens, right? Like crazy shit happens. But then he was elected again. And it's like, oh, this might be a more permanent shift, right? And the last thing I remember, I'll say, because I know I'm rambling a bit, right? Is the JCPOA, right? So that's the Iran nuclear deal. Um, Obama, it was his greatest accomplishment, foreign policy coup, getting since that, and by all measures, by all legitimate measures, Iran was following the deal. And there were plenty of people involved in verifying that, not just the United States, not just the UN, right? Other countries were involved in that too. That happens. Trump gets into office, he immediately gets rid of that, right? But again, Iran continued with the deal. They continued following the deal because they're like, okay, this is like a temporary bout of insanity, like the rest of the world thought. Biden gets in the office and like, okay, well, Biden's a vice president. He's going to restart the deal. He had no interest in doing that because he's a Zionist shill, right? Of course. And so he doesn't. So that means that Trump instituted a permanent change in our foreign policy. That was a permanent shift away from this. And then, of course, Trump gets into office, and now here we are, right? And so, like, countries can't say that the U.S. like is just going through a temporary upheaval, right? That other countries do. Like, this is a change within our foreign policy, a change within our domestic policy that will last. That will last, and so they know they can't do business with us. Sorry.
And then one last thing I want to add. I think this is the first time in for America that like with our immigration's trended down so much that we've had more people emigrate than immigrate. I think we had a lot more people, like a lot of people leave America and expatriate themselves. Like we have a lot more expatriates now than we had before as well. So that's like, and with our immigration that's extra fucky.
So when we're talking about tanking the economy, which was the original thing that I disagreed with, you brought up a lot of things when it comes to cutting certain research grants. I mean, I understand the logic that you're going for. It is pure speculation as to how much this is going to affect the economy long term. Could the savings that is not taxed by large private research companies actually lead to equivalent or more research? It's possible. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what the overall long-term effect would be. I don't think it's nearly enough for me to conclude that Trump has destroyed the economy or ruined the economy. The only two things that Trump has done that have significantly affected the market has been the tariffs and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. The tariffs, Independence Day caused a massive tank. He then pulled back a lot of that. He left some into place, but there was a lot of recovery because he pulled back a shit ton of that, especially on our major trading partners like Canada and Mexico, and then negotiated a decently good deal with China. When it came to, but then obviously since then, the tariffs have been rolled back even more, and then now the current tariff authority is on a temporary timeline. So I'm not convinced that this, with the kind of scaled back, watered down version that we have now that might not even last, I'm not convinced that this is destroying the economy. This closure of the Strait of Hormuz sucked. But once again, I mean, we're on a ceasefire with that one. I'm not convinced that we're going to want to see a hot war again. The markets don't.
We don't
seem
need
to
a hot
believe
war,
that.
though.
Well, right, but we just had one, and the markets don't believe that we're going to go back there again. And it's possible, and it's possible because we're talking about the economy.
No. But yeah, sorry. Let me rephrase that. Right. The reason why I'm saying who cares what the market thinks, because the market is just like full of a bunch of investors who are reacting immediately to Trump's proclamations. Right. You've seen this,
they're
right?
reacting. Yeah, but they're reacting to predictions. If those bigwigs that are running massive amounts of money think that Trump is going to want to go hot with Iran again, they're not going to be putting as much money in the market as they are now.
Yeah, but hold on. But like, okay, this is going to be a difference.
Economics on gambling sites
between
now?
you and me, right?
No, not gambling sites.
No, well, you're talking about
they're like Wall Street investors.
Yeah, and this is the difference between you and me, right? And I wish Scott was here because it's something I wanted to talk to him about. Because like you guys believe in the wisdom of the market, right? Maybe you want to put in those particular words, but like that's a sentiment, right?
The market was more active than any poll.
Yeah. It's I think what we've seen, especially like Iran Wars, has been an extremely good example of this, right? Yeah, is the stock market is just a measurement of rich people's feelings. So at the time, yes, they're feeling confident, right? That doesn't mean they have anything to back it up.
Rich people have more information than we do.
Hold on. You would think that. Here's the thing, right? The people in charge of actually doing the job of moving the product, right? In this case, we're talking about oil, right? The ones who are moving the oil, they think this is an unmitigated disaster, right? Because they understand all the complexities that are actually involved. These market movers, right? They're sitting in an office in New York. They're sitting in an office in London and Paris, right? And they're like, yeah, I guess, guys, like, we're watching, we're looking at the New York Times, we're keeping track of the White House Twitter, or watching Trump's proclamations. But the people who are actually moving the oil, look, there are physical realities to moving the oil, right?
And they're getting reports. Yes, and the people who are moving the oil are reporting their difficulties up the chain, which is then being relayed to the board of directors, which is then being relayed directly to investors. These rich people watch these quarterly reports and these monthly reports and these weekly reports. They watch them like a hawk because their job is to take $1 and turn it into $1.10. Their job is to try to get as much information as possible. That's how the market is. This is why Polymarket and all these betting sites were more accurate than any poll in 2024. Like when people have their money on the line, they're incentivized to actually look into this shit.
I'm not prepared to discuss this, but there's plenty of evidence that actually wasn't the case for Polymarket. But I'm not prepared to discuss that, so I'm just gonna have to.
Okay.
Well, the gambling sites are going to decide our politics. I
won't contest it because I don't have the evidence in front of me right now.
Ideally,
but so here's the thing. There are a certain number of investors who have an idea, right? Certainly, but the market is bigger than the people in the know, right? The market is moving, right? Again, I'm not incorrect when I'm saying this. It's moving on Trump's proclamations. We can actually see that.
Sure, because it's a prediction of what might happen.
Map that out. But it's not a prediction.
So when Trump, okay, your job is to make, as any kind of investor, your only job is to make predictions, right? If that's assuming that's the job of the investor. And so you're taking in information. Well, what information do we have access to? We have information that the companies are relaying to us. We have information from government agencies. We know what the president says. Like, all these things foreshadow some kind of future. They foreshadow future action and future reality.
Yeah,
if the oil movers are saying, if the president's saying, I'm going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz entirely, that's going to affect, obviously, futures, because that could affect how oil trades.
Friend, I understand that. But he says false proclamations all the time. Like, oh, we're about to strike a deal. Oh, things are getting close. Oh, never mind. We take that back. The Iranians aren't actually
factoring that into.
He says lies. They're not. They're not factoring. We had not seen evidence of that. He says these lies all the time, and none of that affects, right? Once again, the physical realities. Even if tomorrow, right, we wake up tomorrow and peace has been achieved, it's happened. Straits open, right? We are facing a massive shortcoming, and it's going to be like that for years. Like, it's not even a matter simply of okay, well, the ships have to start moving, and which will take weeks, right, for them to get to their destinations. That'll be a thing, right?
Why don't the investors know this?
It's the production of the oil that's been permanently altered, permanently damaged, right? Like, just shutting down. For instance, the example is shutting down the wells. When you shut down the wells, you can't just restart them, right?
I hear you saying this.
Slap the red button, and then oil starts springing up again. Once you have because it's a whole process, or you're damaged.
Yeah, you're saying this, but all the people who are
on damaged equipment, you have the strikes that the Iranians have done against the UAE and Saudi Arabia and all that. That's permanent damage, years-long damage. There is going to be a shortfall in oil for a long time. We will feel that. That will, and other countries are feeling that already, right? Now, America has been insulated to a certain extent, but the chaos that's happening in East Asia, the chaos that's happening, and it's affecting who more than anyone, us, our partners, because they were the ones who were reliant on the oil more than anything. South Korea, Japan are the ones feeling it. China, less so. China actually has a far greater ability to absorb this impact than anyone, or at least all the prognosticators thought they did. But our allies, once again, are the ones getting hurt. Sorry, go ahead.
So you're saying all this, and understood, But all the people who have all access to all the information that you and I have, plus more, and they're hearing directly from these oil companies, all of them are reacting to what's happening on the ground, and they're reacting in a way that, to me, doesn't signal that the economy is busted or that the economy is destroyed. And I'm going to have to sort of leave it at that, because you can point to specific oil wells that were attacked. You can point to specific tankers that had issues getting through the straits. All these things are real, but these are all small realities in what's a much larger picture.
Small.
And no, but when you look at individual instances, they are individually small compared to a
No, they're
larger
not.
picture.
They're
When you look at the
huge.
larger picture, where all the people with the fucking money who like their jobs depend on them
That's
getting
not
it
the
right.
large- That's
And
not the larger picture. That's the smaller picture.
the traders who their jobs depend on them getting it right. They have access to the same information you do, and plus more, because they're getting reports from these companies that are operating in the area that you and I don't have access
What
to.
about the 2008?
And they have insiders, in the government that you and I don't hear from.
Oh yeah, and the government that's been okay. Sorry, I'm gonna leave that alone.
Yeah,
okay.
So they have this access to this information.
What about the 2008 financial crisis?
Yes,
2008 financial crisis.
Yeah.
The housing
the rich people probably saw it better than we did.
No, they didn't. The housing
Really?
market was riding high until all of a sudden it wasn't.
And all the normal people knew that.
Until no. I'm not
the podcasters.
No. I'm saying that these people that you worship. Like, I don't want to be insulting, right? These people that you think highly of, that you think have a certain level of insight, they were invested into this market.
I'm saying they had
up to the day.
And I'm saying they have more insight. I'm saying they have more insight than us. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they get it right. And in 2008, and in 2008, there were a lot of systemic issues when it came to the housing market that was propagated by certain levels of fraud. It's possible that this is happening here, but I don't see how it's happening here when we're talking about geopolitical actors and large-scale results of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which, as you pointed out, was affecting Asian countries more so than it's affecting us. When I'm looking at, again, an overall effect on the American economy, it appears that the bean counters and the number punchers here have looked at all of this, looked at all the information, and they adjusted, right? We saw a drop in the market. We saw a small crash happen when the Strait of Hormuz closed. We definitely saw that. But since the Strait ceasefire, since a lot of that's been opened up again, a lot of that has been alleviated. And
nothing has.
They're predicting that things aren't going to get as bad as they were when the Strait of Hormuz.
Sorry, explain to me what's opened up.
The Strait of Hormuz has more traffic flowing through it now than it did during the hot war.
Yeah, because of the ransom that's happening. No, not the ceasefire.
Yeah,
the
Pakistan
ceasefire
broke the ceasefire.
Did not open up the Strait of Hormuz, right? Like it.
No, it opened. It did.
There's still two blockades happening, right? There's
they've been temporarily reopened and closed at a time
that you can go through. You can go. There's two ways people ships are making it through, right? One, they're paying. Right, they're paying the ransom, which is $2 million. I don't even call it a ransom. I think a toll. I think it's actually a fair toll. I'm actually fine with that. No, seriously, like these tankers, like often like go through like 2 million barrels of oil. From what we understand, they're asking for $2 million. $1 per barrel. That's a reasonable toll, right? That's not actually a market.
Okay,
movie.
so it's not going to be massively destructive to the market.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
So part. So assuming then that's not going to be as massively destructive to the market as kind of the original claim would indicate.
No. Not that doesn't affect my claim, right? That's not what that's not what I'm factoring in. That's why I'm saying it doesn't affect the market. So that's not evidence I'm putting forth. I'm just saying there's two ways they're getting through. One, they're working their way through the approved method, right, by the Iranians. Two, they're ghost running, right? They're turning off all their GPS monitors and then they're going for it. Some have made it through. A few have, right? Others have been hit by drones or by taken control by the Iranian Navy, which Trump pretended was destroyed, which it isn't. But they've actually seized vessels. So that's what's happening. The traffic is dead compared to what it was previously. There's a trickle coming out, but the strait is not open. You know that, right?
No, the strait. So
And also,
when it comes to the tolls, I mean, you can say, okay, we have these tolls now that companies can pay to get the boats through. Iran announced that it was open. They did briefly announce that it was closed again because the U.S. imposed blockade. That is currently still in effect when it comes to stuff going into Iran specifically. But the Iranians, to my understanding, have lifted that as well. So I understand that they are charging, but they are letting ships through. Even if it is the case, which I don't think it is the case, now you can see there's a trickle. It's possible that there's less ships going through than there was before all this shit happened to begin with. That probably is the case. Again, the bean counters and the number pushers are predicting in the market, in the futures market, that the quants, that this is going to return closer to normal, closer to what it was before, then continue to go closer to what it was during the hot war, in which you weren't seeing anything go through the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, wait, hold on, wait. When you say there's like a ceasefire, right? Like all these words and this verbiage, that's kind of like Iran's the one who wins with the ceasefire. Like we were the ones attacking and aggressing on Iran. So if there's a ceasefire, it's us not attacking them. So it's like weirdly to there, and then they now they know they have the control of the Strait of Hormuz. So whenever they want to fucking like enact this closing or opening of it, they know that they can. Or if they want to enact a toll, to Prime's point, like they can.
Well, they also know that they can get blockaded.
I mean, I don't think they care about necessarily being
that actually has been the one thing that they actually have seemed to respond to. When we imposed our blockade, they actually were
our soft power works better than our hard power over there.
I'm not in favor of the hard power. I'm not in favor.
I know you're
of
not. I'm not saying you're not. But what I'm saying is like all of these things are more wins for Iran than it is for America. It's definitely not a win for Trump.
I don't know.
So like when you see these markets kind of reacting to Trump saying that he won or he's gaining all.
Well, they're
these
not reacting to that.
Like, no, well, I think they are. I think a lot of
they're not reacting to like
when. So like when Trump says like, look, we're having a ceasefire, but then or we're doing negotiations, but then Iran goes, I don't know what the fuck this guy's talking about. We're not doing any negotiations, but the market's reacting to what Trump is saying because Trump's word is law right now, especially
because it predicts what he's going to do. Because it predicts what he's going to do. If Trump says we won the war, we don't got to go back. That's going to lead someone to more accurately than not predict that. Trump doesn't want to re-engage in hard power, re-engage in continued airstrikes. Because look, I won. I don't even have to go. I don't even have to go back.
A single Google search, right? Mm-hmm. This is from Insurance Journal because the insurance company has been keeping track of this. Hormuz shipping traffic remains muted with no U.S.-Iran deal in sight. Data shows.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'll link this to you. You can take a look.
Yeah, it's like I just said. It's probably less than beforehand.
Before you say anything, though, let me actually read the rest.
Sure.
At least 7 ships, mainly dry bulk vessels, have crossed the Strait of Hormuz in the past 24 hours, in line with muted activity in recent days. Shipping data showed on Monday, while talks between Iran and the United States have stalled. The vessels included ships leaving from Iraqi ports and 1 dry bulk vessel from an Iranian port, according to ship tracking data from Kepler and separate satellite analysis. Shipping traffic passing through the crucial waterway at the entrance to the Gulf during an uneasy ceasefire between Washington and Tehran represents a fraction of the average 140 daily passages before the Iran war in February 28th. So don't tell me, oh, things are moving in the right direction. 7 have passed, right? It used to be 140. Like I'm telling you, yes, the trickle is making through.
What's my whole
point? They were moving in the right direction.
No, my point was twofold. It's more so than when it was at a complete standstill during the hot war. These tankers are huge. The markets are reacting to additional ships leaving. But the more important thing is that the prediction is that there are serious negotiations underway to end the conflict, or at least postpone any kind of end of the conflict, while allowing.
Recovered. That's the thing I'm responding to. You said you said this is recovering.
Yeah, the markets
I'm saying it's not recovering. No.
Listen. I said the markets have mostly recovered, right? Now, not completely. They have mostly recovered. Markets are a prediction market, like our predictions.
You talked about
prediction
market, though.
No, I'm talking about markets.
Before you were talking about ship traffic. That's the thing I'm responding to. That's why I looked up the traffic from the Strait of Hormuz. Not because of that.
I thought, and maybe I misspoke here. So let me just be very clear. There is less traffic now than there was before the hot war. Okay. During the hot war, there was basically nothing because Iran was deploying mines and shooting at any ship that would try to get through. As you pointed out, there are ships that are able to pay bribes to get through now. Right?
Legitimate tolls, but yeah.
There are ships that are able to pay to get through. There are more ships coming through them from during the hot war, right? Okay.
As far as I know.
As far as you know. And the prediction is, and this is the critical part. The prediction is that in the coming days or the coming weeks, that traffic is going to be fully restored or close to fully restored. Because otherwise,
no. It won't. No. But it won't.
So why have the markets responded?
Because the markets are bullshit, like I've been saying. Hold on, but no, actually, I mean this
they're
is
just
a
guessing
point.
wrong.
Hold on, friend.
They're making
markets
money
guess
on
wrong.
guesses.
Hold on.
Hold on
1 second. I mean this as a serious point. It can't. If
it can't, why do people smarter than us saying it is?
Mom, sorry, I said.
You call me mom. Jesus Christ!
Maybe I'm having PTSD. Likely. What I'm saying is it can't because the Strait of Hormuz has been mined, right? I don't think it's been heavily mined, but it's been mined. Like the traffic will not pick up to a regular pace. It will not make that happen for months. I believe it was an U.S. Admiral talked about how it will take us at least 6 months to sweep the Strait of Hormuz to make sure there are no mines. And Iranians have created the situation with only a tiny amount of I guess maybe munitions, what I would call them, mines that are within the strait, right? We don't think that they've littered it 200 all over the place. Oh no, right? But only a few. But because of that, right? Because hey, market force is in action. Your insurance rates are just way too high to attempt to go through the strait, right? If we aren't sure, they have to wait for the okay from their company and from their insurance companies, right? From their parent companies and their insurers before they can go, and they'll have to wait until it's swept. So no, actually, it will take months. That's what I'm saying. There's all these unaccounted for barriers that are happening, but the market just reacts to Trump's proclamations. Once again, Trump can say tomorrow it's over, right? And still the traffic won't increase like that. It won't just go back to normal.
And all the people that are in charge of line going up, none of them know this information. They're not aware of the mines. They're not aware of the months that it's going to take to repair all this shit.
I don't think they have to care. They're making money off predictions.
I think there's more than one group. So because one thing that I think you are doing a disfavor to your argument, right? Is to treat these investors as a whole, right? There are certain individuals who, you are correct, have a great understanding of these, right? And they are investing accordingly, right? I believe that. I believe that there are plenty of people I can see that. I don't. You're also correct, and that Prime certainly doesn't have access to special information, right? There must be people who have more information than me, right? Who are making correct investments. That's true, right? Yeah. But that's not the whole market. That's not the rest of the market. There are plenty of retail investors who never have any idea what the
tiny percentage.
I agreed, right? But then there's just other big investors who are operating in this manner that markets are moving due to their actions, and their actions are mapped based on what is top line news, right, from the New York Times, top line news from Truth Social, top line news from the White House press reports. We see that. I'm not making it up. We're seeing that.
If that was the case,
no,
sorry, go ahead.
I understand they respond to those things, but remember, it's the people responding because they see that and they're making predictions off of what is to come next.
But
It's not
hold
it's
on.
not
But
because
those
it's
are
solely just
bad
like
signals, though. What I'm saying, those are bad signals.
But
Go ahead.
how but again, I hate to appeal to the almighty line, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna.
Go
You
ahead.
say it's bad signals. If you or me, if you or me had the ability to know the good signals, then you and I would be millionaires. If I knew every bad signal and I would invest the opposite, I'd be rich as fuck. But these institutional investors, they outperform me. The retail investor does not outperform these Wall Street firms. They underperform them significantly. In fact,
Agreed.
and that's not an accident. It's because the average retail person is like, oh, I know what the market's going to do, and they throw all their money into fucking GameStop, and then they get fucking railed.
No, I know. Yeah, you'll find no disagreement with me there. I just think the problem is like treating these people as a whole. Like even we're just talking about institutional investors, right? Like you can agree with me on this, right? Not every institutional investor has access to the same amount of information on that sense alone.
I would agree with that, but the institutional investors that don't have access to that information are watching the people who do. And they might not be the first ones, but they're going to try to be the second ones or the third ones. They're going to try to react before the other institutional investors can react before them, right? If I'm working at Merrill Lynch and I'm part of this Wall Street firm that has all these connections, and I know this is this futures trading firm over here, they make a quiet market move because based on some report they get from an oil company in which they sell like some massive amount of their overall holdings in oil futures. I'm responding to that just based on the fact that the people who have the information are acting, because I don't, and I could be wrong, but I'm making a prediction.
Okay, friend. So let's try this. All right. Because in the end, right now, what we're doing is just like arguing, like trying to get into the minds of people who are so rich that they will never be in the same room as us, right?
Of course.
So let's try something.
Not even me, despite the fact that I wash their hands. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let's try this instead. Okay. So when I say like it's going to tank the economy, right? Mm-hmm. Like this, all the goings on here, it's not simply because the oil has stopped, right? The oil is one component of it, a massive component, but there's a lot of knockoff effects, right? One, there's oil. Two, there's natural gas, right? That's been denied. Three, there's other inputs, right? Industrial inputs that are being denied. So like, and I'm sure you've heard of some of this, right? So like the fertilizer, right? Various inputs for fertilizer. I can't go like ammonia and sulfur. There's like a certain massive percentage of that comes through the Strait of Hormuz. It's these things are like byproducts of like oil refining. Like helium is a byproduct, I think, of natural gas refining or mining or whatever. And helium is used in a variety of industrial activities, right? Including chip making, right? It's extremely important in chip making, and there's no substitute for that. No substitute. And so there's going to be shortages there. And there will be a shortfall because it's happening now during like the growing season, right? There's going to be a shortfall in food production. That's going to happen. Because the price of fertilizer has gone up. There are other bottlenecks that have happened that people didn't see coming initially, right? So, for instance, like I talked about in Asia, like the South Koreans, they're not like waiting around, right? They're taking action, as you know, and I know you understand this very well. Oil is a globalized a market, right? And the price is set by the general supply and demand out there in the world. Mm-hmm. They've just gone off and bought it from OPEC. Other places. Yeah. And so like some like where they have taken some of this supply is from the Gulf of Mexico. Okay. So now, we're these ships who previously didn't go to Asia, right? Are now going to Asia. Yeah. How do they get there? They're sailing down to the Panama Canal, right? What happens at the Panama Canal? All of a sudden, we have a glut of ships there. And the Panama Canal has a set throughput.
Yeah, we should have owned it.
Yeah.
Trump tried that.
Oh, but that would make no difference here.
Of course, it would. We'd be making the fees off that, and then we'd be using it to fund our own economy because every ship that goes through pays us the reasonable toll.
Gibbs isn't here, right? Like give that argument to him.
But that's correct though. You would agree that the money coming in would come to us, right?
I don't care about that.
You don't care about money in our economy?
If it's in my pocket, but it won't be in my pocket.
It's a hell of a sales pitch.
All right. Okay. So there's a physical limit to just how many ships you can go through there. Now, one thing that's happening, to my understanding, I don't know the details of this, right, is that they're having some sort of a drought in that area, which is affecting their ability to actually operate the canal. But beyond that, like market forces are happening. You can bid for the slots to go through, right? The oil companies are outbidding everyone else, right? And so you have ships filled with grain who would usually be going through, right, to get to the Pacific. They can't move now. They're all being outbid by the oil tankers that are going through. Another piece of calamity that's happening, right? And so, okay, so to wrap this up, what I'm saying is, what we should be doing here, right, between you and me, is like trying to make our own little prediction. So if you think like the market has a good idea of this and knows it's gonna just be a few weeks after a ceasefire, right? So it's after not a ceasefire, after a truce, okay, right? After the Strait of Hormuz is actually opened up. It's not opened up now, but after that happens, right? That Trump declares we're all good, right? If you think it's only going to be a few weeks between like the world getting back to normal, the economy like recovering, well then we should see that, right? We should see that in the data. What I will say here right now is that this will be a disaster we're dealing with for years across a variety of sectors that we still don't understand at this very moment. And so I'll say that we're going to have a depressed economic growth in the US, but more so globally. For a few years as we try to get things back to normal, get things back up and running, right? So that'll be my prediction, okay? Right? This will take years to overcome. We'll be reading about this in like 2028. And you say it'll be just like weeks. How many weeks do you think, right?
I think that if tomorrow the Strait of Hormuz is announced to reopen and like there's actually efforts underway to like remove the mines and actually get the ships through, I think that on the macro level, you're going to see overall market recovery significantly within a few weeks. I think that within a few weeks, I think that you're probably still going to get stories occasionally of like, oh, you know, Zambia had a delayed grain shipment because of this, that it's going to be traced back to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. That might be the case. But I think that the overall economic situation is probably going to recover. That's my prediction. Okay. And look, if line goes down, I will concede.
The line ever goes down.
The line is my God. Okay, if it goes down, we have displeased him. If it goes up, we have praised him sufficiently.
All right, you heard it. If it ever goes down, he will say he's wrong.
No, okay, hold on. The squiggles don't count.
Oh, okay. Well, no.
I'm right. No, I'm wrong. I'm right.
Did you not say line go down? No. You said.
Oh my God.
Come on, lawyer. Aren't you a lawyer?
My friend Lactoid means if the trend goes down.
No, right? That's not what he said. He said line.
That's fair. But okay, and we'll see. Like, obviously, I don't see a feature. And now, hey, Prime is willing to eat crow. You know, Prime has been wrong. He's said like I'm wrong, right? Or I was proven wrong. So I've done that multiple times. So if that's the case, I'll say that to you, friend, and I hope you'll say it back to me. Otherwise,
look. And here's the thing: if the line goes down and my stocks are hurt, I'm going to be pissed enough to happily admit that I was wrong on this because I'm going to be upset. So it's gonna be okay. Win-win.
Yeah, and okay, so we'll leave that there. I don't think there's much else for us to say there. What time is it?
We're over time.
Oh, okay, yeah. I didn't realize that, fellas. Having a good time with good friends. So anyway, thanks all. Much appreciated for being here. To the people on the panel, even the one our fallen friend. Thanks for coming through. And thank you to the audience for being here. This is a lot of fun. Consider following the channel if you haven't done so yet. On all our platforms, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. Yeah. So I'll give a outro to all these amazing individuals, and we'll head out. Starting Lactoid.
I'm Lactoid. You can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And always, Lactoid, thanks for being a good sport with these arguments and these debates.
You know it.
Let's go. Yeah.
Let's
go to our friend Ali.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. As we all know, Mondays are my favorite nights. You can catch me at My Cousin Ali on TikTok and Project Socio on YouTube. And as always, Free Palestine. Thanks for having me, Prime.
As always, only thing that matters. Let's go to our friend Corey.
Pretty much echo the same sentiments. Mondays are the greatest, and grateful to be here. And to be clear, okay, the United States will never get our strategic reserve of maple syrup. Okay, never ever. I will absolutely lace up. Okay, I'll be on the front lines, leading the charge to protect our strategic reserve of maple syrup. And just for your information, be on the lookout for fraudulent maple syrup. Okay. As in, just for your information, maple syrup graded Canada grade A must be maple syrup that has a minimum soluble solids content of 66% and a maximum soluble solids content of 68.9% as determined by a refractometer or a hydrometer at 20 degrees Celsius. Okay, so just FYI. You can follow me on Twitch, Corey Campbell 84, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram, Substack, TikTok. It's Corey Campbell.
I'm going to use that information at some point in my life.
Obviously just you'll take your refractometer out of your kitchen cabinet.
My fractometer, we all have one of those. Yeah,
that's only one of the criteria. Okay, it has to be free from fermentation. Okay, it has a color class. How do I
know if it's free of fermentation?
Yeah, that's true.
A fermenturboscope or whatever.
I'll send you the entire Canadian government guidelines for maple syrup grade requirements.
Thank you.
I'll because I'm magnanimous. I'll raid
get your maple syrup wherever you can.
I'm going to raid still my friend Gibbs. He's very mad.
I hope he's still ranting on the same rant.
Yeah, that's a very much a possibility. Off and support Gibbs. Off you go. Bye. Okay. But thanks, fellas.
Thanks, friends.
See you next week, everybody.